It's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime use.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? Happy Friday to everybody out there in America's finest city. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show, taking you up to 2 o'clock today. And Gwen and Chris before the Padres get ready for their rivalry series against the Seattle Mariners. The Vedder Cup starts this weekend. It's part of MLB's big Rivalry Weekend initiative. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show, as we have Padres baseball starting up tonight at 6:40 p.m. We got the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show at 5:40. Stephen Kolek on the hill for the San Diego Padres, going against his former organization. 2-0, has not allowed a run in 14 and a half innings. That's pretty remarkable. Pretty impressive. We talked yesterday about what the Padres should do in terms of overall usage of their starting rotation when Yu Darvish comes back, and he is expected to come back sooner rather than later. 6-man rotation. Kolek goes back down to AAA El Paso. Maybe it's Vasquez. I would imagine it's Kolek. So he's going to go out there and, again, compete for a job. You got guys on this team that are competing for jobs each and every day, which is a good problem to have if you're the San Diego Padres. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Mike Shildt was on with Ben and Woods earlier today as part of the manager report. When we come back, we'll hear from Mike Shildt on a couple of things that involve the starting rotation, what to do with Jason Hayward, and a couple other things that we found very interesting and topic-worthy here on the Braden Surprenant Show, obviously involving the Padres. Later on, again, we'll talk some Brandon Lockridge. We didn't get into the Brandon Lockridge situation or Manny Machado. Mike Shildt had some things to say about both of those players. We'll do that in the 11 o'clock hour. We'll do a little Vedder Cup preview in the 11 o'clock hour as well. It is Rivalry Weekend. Frank has coined the phrase, the gimmick we didn't ask for. But something you need. Is this the Harvey Dent of baseball? Lunchtime hour bite down inspired by Kirk Kenny last night. Did anybody see Kirk Kenny's tweet last night? How many days in a row the guy's been eating at Chick-fil-A? It's honestly impressive. Ben Woods talked about it earlier this morning. I sent that to Frank last night. And I know Kirk listens to the show because he told Gwen and Chris about my fried chicken that I said is better than the Colonel. I think it's better than the Colonel. Fast food places, you can make better food than fast food places all the time. But Kirk Kenny has gotten to Chick-fil-A every single day for over 1,000 days. In fact, it's been about 4 years. 4.5 years. Kirk Kenny's gone to the same Chick-fil-A every single day. They have a plaque that has an ever-changing number for the days Kirk has visited the Chick-fil-A. That's like the Big Mac guy. Not the dude not the supersize me guy. The guy that goes in and gets 2 Big Macs a day at McDonald's. Crazy. We'll have a question about that in our lunchtime hour. Maybe get you guys hungry for the day. Coming up later. Got some mailbag questions that were asked to Dennis Lynn that we will answer. We'll get to at 12:30. NBA and NHL playoff update we'll try to get to in the 1 o'clock hour. San Diego FC plays their third game in a week as they will take on Sporting Kansas City tomorrow at 7:30. We'll get you a preview of that and talk with Drake Hills for our usual Soccer 101. That is how our show will lay out. But I want to start today's show, and it works out because Frank last night was like, rundown's done. Frank always has the rundown done very early. Prides himself on that. Does a great job. And he said, I got everything done but the Open. I don't know what to do for the Open. I said, it's okay. I got it covered.
I said chapter 2 through 12 are great. That's cool. What about the first part?
The first part.
Oh, got nothing.
Well, sometimes in the first part, you always got to kind of highlight the show, what's about to happen. Or you talk about what you did the night before. Sometimes it's something I need to get off my chest about the Padres or something in sports in general. Last night, it was the USD Toreros. What is it? Scott Van Pelt's got his one big thing. We're starting off today with what was the big thing we saw last night? Well, as a part of it last night, it was over in Linda Vista at the University of San Diego where the Toreros won the West Coast Conference regular season championship in baseball. I've been fortunate enough to be part of that program for the last couple of years now. This is my 4th season as the play-by-play man of the USD Toreros baseball program. And last night was a very incredible game for USD because of the way that they started the season. San Diego baseball is a organization, or should I say a team, here in town that really prides himself on the San Diego part. Their head coach, Brock Ungridge, grew up here in San Diego, went to Mission Bay High School, played at San Diego State for Tony Gwynn, had spent some time as a scout in the Cardinals organization after he spent a little bit of time in pro ball, got into coaching, coached at Stanford for a long time, joined Rich Hill's staff at USD, and then when Rich Hill left to go to Hawaii, Brock Ungridge took over the program at the University of San Diego. He's a proud San Diegan, and he prides himself on representing the city of San Diego, and so does that team. A team that has multiple players from San Diego as well. Isaiah Lane, Nico Libid from Eastlake, Jack McWilliams, Vincent Venverlo from Cathedral Catholic, Jack Giordano from Patrick Henry. I could keep going down the list of all the San Diego players that the University of San Diego has. And so they do a great job representing San Diego. A lot of young players, though, this year. And with the young players and losing a lot of veterans, a lot of them got drafted. A lot of them moved on to the next level. A lot of them were seniors and it moved on. Brock Ungridge assembled a very difficult schedule for them to start the season. They played TCU out of the gate, who was ranked. They played Arizona right after that. They have played 5 teams this season that are all going to be in the NCAA tournament. In fact, all 5 of those teams will probably be hosting an NCAA tournament regional. Austin Smith, a two-way guy, senior, that is a leader of this team out of Granite Hills High School. Ryan Ward out of Coronado High School. Cade Martinez out of St. Augustine, the transfer from San Diego State, whose dad, Mark Martinez, ran the Aztecs for a long time. It's a really good team assembled over there in Linda Vista that had to play the best of the best in college baseball. Porter Rovin out of Sage Creek High School. Ben Harr played at Helix High School. Chaz McRoberts, another St. Augustine Saintsman, part of this roster. But the thing about this local team and representing San Diego and everything that they've done this year, it's pretty impressive how they were able to weather the storm and then win a championship. And it's not done yet. They have a lot more they got to get to. But they started the season off to just a rough start. They lost their first 8 games of the year, then took 2 out of 3 from Cal State Bakersfield, then went on to lose their next 5 or 6 games. And you get to a point where they were, before they played Pepperdine for the second game of a 3-game series here in San Diego. The Toreros were 5-21 on the season. 5-21. They are now sitting at 23-28 on the year. They've gone 17-5 in conference play. They got 2 more games against Pacific this weekend, and now they're West Coast Conference regular season champions. It's a pretty remarkable feat that they were able to accomplish. Jack Gurovich, not a San Diego kid. He's from LA, but he has helped lead this team. He is a tall left-handed hitter that is hitting over 350 this year, that did a great job in trying to take over kind of the responsibility. And the thing that I find interesting about this, I mentioned it early in the year when I did their first pitch dinner. One of their alum was the keynote speaker, and he said leadership is taking responsibility for results. And Jack Gurovich, who was on the team last year that went to an NCAA regional that won a West Coast Conference championship, that is in his junior year, is getting highly scouted by MLB scouts, started to take things personally with the way that the team was playing in a sense of losing. And he didn't want to see the 2025 season turn into the 2023 season. Helped lead the charge with Austin Smith, the senior out of Granite Hills High School, the two-way player. And they went and turned around this season for USD to a point where not only are they the West Coast Conference regular season champion for the second year in a row, but next Thursday at 2 o'clock will start their campaign in the West Coast Conference tournament. If they are able to win a couple of games there and win the West Coast Conference tournament, they will represent San Diego in the NCAA tournament. It's a pretty remarkable story over there at Linda Vista. Again, local kids representing San Diego, being proud to be from America's finest city, achieving a complete turnaround in the second half of the season to put themselves in the best position they can to make the NCAA tournament. That starts next week. They will play in Vegas next Thursday at 2 o'clock. If they win 2 games, they will be in the championship game. We'll have to get beat twice. And we'll see what the Toreros have in store. Selection Monday is on Memorial Day. And then they'll make their NCAA tournament campaign if they do, in fact, win the West Coast Conference tournament. So kind of a fun story. Congrats on USD. Congrats to Brock Ungrich and company for winning last night. They won in 7 innings. They won 13-1. Cal Scolari, their starting pitcher, who had Tommy John surgery, was out for 2 years. This is his first year back pitching. Turned into the ace of the staff, if you will. He was the West Coast Conference Pitcher of the Week 2 weeks ago. He's the West Coast Conference Freshman of the Week. And this week, when he's the Freshman of the Week, Max Bayless at a Cathedral Catholic High School was the Pitcher of the Week for Santa Clara, which is kind of cool. But anyway, last night, he goes 6 innings, only allows 1 hit to Pacific. San Diego wins in 7 innings due to the run rule. Jumped out on these guys 13-1. Hitting the ball to the gaps. Had 2 home runs out of Isaiah Lane, the Eastlake kid, who just hit absolute no-doubters last night. An overall great team win for the Toreros, who will try to ride this momentum in the NCAA tournament. Hopefully, if they can make it to the West Coast Conference tournament. They'll play another game tonight at 6 o'clock. If you want to check them out, they'll be at Fowler Park on the University of San Diego's campus. They play tonight at 6 and 1 o'clock on Saturday. Will be the last 2 times you can see them in town before hopefully you're watching them on TV playing in an NCAA tournament game. So congratulations to them. I told Frank I'd have the Open taken care of. When we come back, some important things from Mike Schilt on the manager report. We'll get to that when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's number 1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. 10:19 on a Friday morning. Padres and Mariners starting up this weekend for a 3-game series. This weekend, as we flip our graphics, this weekend is Armed Forces Weekend. So in recognition of Armed Forces Weekend across Major League Baseball, the Padres will join all 30 clubs by wearing officially licensed Army hats and socks with their home white pinstripe uniforms this Friday and Saturday. They will also wear the Armed Forces gear with their military camo uniforms on Sunday. So no City Connects tonight. Want to join the show today, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Earlier today on the manager's report, which is refreshed by EcoWater SoCal, Mike Shildt had this to say with Bennett Woods when talking about, obviously, what's going on with the starting rotation. What do you do with the starting rotation moving forward? Do you go to a 6-man rotation the way Kolek is pitching, Vasquez, and Yu Darvish on the way?
Yeah, we thought about it. We haven't made any final decisions. We're still waiting on, how Darvish is going to recover and how he feels and what the next steps are. So, it's you have your thoughts around what that could possibly look like, but there's still moving parts to it. Use recovery being one of them, what his next steps are being a factor. There are other factors. The schedule is a little bit of a factor. You talk about taking care of the bullpen. I really don't think it takes care of the bullpen to have one less guy down there.
That's true. Especially, we're going to get through, this 3-game series, have a day off, and then we're going to have fewer days off. We've been, fortunate to have that. But we'll always evaluate any and all of it and see where it lands.
So it's happened earlier today on the manager's report with Mike Shildt, refreshed by EcoWater SoCal. Interesting conversation, obviously, trying to go with maybe a 6-man rotation, but you're worried about the bullpen and how they've done over the last couple of weeks. That being said, they had a little bit of a bounce back 2 days ago, which is great. The other thing, and a lot of people were talking about Jason Hayward this week. I mean, he is a veteran. I thought Chris Sello said it best. He has deserved an opportunity to make it through at least June. Before you start making decisions, you got to give him a little bit of time to be able to see if he could contribute to the team. But when you're waiting and trying to be patient with Jason Hayward, how can you do that while also, trying to get results in production in left field? Here's what Mike Shildt had to say.
It's just part of the gig. And, I also look at it more holistically than perhaps others do and how they evaluate it. And I also have the privilege of being able to be around Jason and see the contributions and, again, look at the game in a more holistic manner to see where the contributions come from to help us shake hands. And offensive production is definitely one of them. I'm not ignoring that clearly, but there are other variables that you look at. If you look at this big picture with guys that have some dirt in their spikes, like the Higgies and Peraltas and now Jason Haywards, there's a reason they got the dirt because they performed and performed in a lot of different ways. In Jason's case, if you look up, Jason Hayward's basically been on a winning team since he was 8 years old. He's a very high character, high baseball IQ, great energy, sees the game very well, brings a lot of intangibles that will never be quantified on anybody's spreadsheet. But the spreadsheet is important. I don't alibi that. But the point I'm getting at is, Jason does bring intangibles that are real to our clubhouse and to our team and to our pregame and during the game and how we see the game and helping guys, see defensive positioning, which, I don't believe anybody's brought up. Maybe they have the 4++ defensive plays that he made in Colorado that allowed, us to get out of innings and keep starters in longer and save our bullpen or save some opportunities for some runs on the other side that really mattered and in some other areas too. And that was based on his talent, but also based on his anticipation, his positioning, and his experience. I see those things. And so, there's value in that. As far as what it looks like moving forward. Similar to looks like Wednesday. We'll look to see what the lineup looks like, what the opposing pitcher looks like, what the matchups look like, and we'll take our best shot at and putting them in the right position to give us the best chance to succeed.
There's a couple things there in Hayward, and we talked about it before, and I think unless you're in the room, unless you're down there with the Padres every single day, and I'm not talking about like media people, I'm talking about like part of the organization. You understand what certain players bring to your team and bring to your organization, and that's at any level. And it might not display in games with them individually, but there's more to a lot of these players than just what they do on a spreadsheet, as Mike Shildt said. So you guys will never, and we will never see it. But there is a lot of times that Jason Hayward contributes to this team that we probably don't notice as much because we're more paying attention to his offensive production. And that's why, as long as those things that Jason Hayward does outweigh some of the negatives that might be on his, quote, spreadsheet, he will be part of the San Diego Padres. But until those benefits do not outweigh maybe some of the dark, the black hole that is the production of left field, then all of a sudden you're going to have to make a change. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. You can't have an entire team of vibe guys. And I think there's something to be said about, well, if he's just going to be basically a coach, why is he on the roster as a player? And I get all those arguments. But again, he brings a lot of other things to the club besides just trying to be productive in left field. He does a great job defensively. He's a good base runner. There's a lot of other things that are mixed in. And I think a lot of people don't value those things as much as swinging the bat. I think that's a fair argument to say, but the Padres obviously value him as being part of the team. And again, until some of those intangibles that Mike Shildt mentioned earlier this morning with Ben and Woods, until those start to not outweigh the lack of production in left field, he's going to be on the team. So you're going to have to be patient with guys like Jason Hayward for the next month and a half. I think eventually, if he continues to play like this, though, offensively, they will probably go in a different direction. But as of right now, you're going to see Jason Hayward getting some time in left field. You get Brandon Lockridge some time in left field. We'll talk about Brandon Lockridge in the 11 o'clock hour, but let's get you a preview of what to expect from the arch nemesis Seattle Mariners this weekend. Rick Rizzs, who is an American sportscaster, longtime lead radio voice for the Seattle Mariners, longest tenure broadcaster in franchise history, Rick Rizzs, will join us on the Braden Surprenant Show when we come back on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 10:34 on a Friday here in America's finest city. Padres and Mariners starting a 3-game series this weekend. The Vedder Cup, with official Vedder Cup gear and everything else out there this weekend. It'll be the first of 6 games that the Padres play the Mariners this season. I'm Braden Surprenant. Thanks again for tuning into the Braden Surprenant Show here on the San Diego Padres flagship radio station 97.3 The Fan, to help give us a preview of the Vedder Cup and the series against the Seattle Mariners. Longtime broadcaster of the Seattle Mariners, lead radio play-by-play voice, longest tenured broadcaster in franchise history of the Seattle Mariners, who has had an illustrious career that started a while ago. He had some time with the Tigers, some time with Ohio State. He's done a lot of impressive things in a broadcasting career. His name is Rizzs, and he joins us today on the Braden Surprenant Show. Rick, how is your Friday going? Thanks again for joining us.
Hey, Braden, you want to be my agent? Thank you very much. I didn't realize that all that stuff happened, but yeah, it's been a wonderful journey. I spent 8 years in the minor leagues, got to Seattle in 1983 with one of the greatest broadcasters in the history of the game of baseball, and Dave Niehaus, and was here for 9 years, went to Detroit, came back to Seattle. So it's been a great ride, but it's been a fun season. They're still in first place. They're hanging in there with a lot of injuries, and I look for this ball club to get back to the playoffs again this year.
Rick, I want to get to the Mariners in just a second, but I am going to ask a question that personally benefits me. I do play-by-play at the University of San Diego, and anytime I get an opportunity to talk to a fellow play-by-play man, I like to pick his brain a little bit. I know there's a lot of people in our audience that are aspiring broadcasters in some sort of way. In your experience that you have had and, over the years, what's and we don't have to get into a personal conversation, but what's the best advice that you have to young broadcasters that want to get into and maybe do one day what you have been able to accomplish?
Yeah, you got to love this job because it's a commitment. You're away from your family a lot. When you're home, you're at the ballpark or you're on the road. So you really, really have to love what you do. You got to love the history of the game and broadcasting. I fell in love with this game when I was a kid growing up on the south side of Chicago, Braden. I had the Cubs during the day. My mother was a big Cub fan, loved Ernie Banks and Ron Santo and Billy Williams. And I'd go downstairs, turn on the TV set, turn down the sound, do play-by-play. And I was Jack Brickhouse, the Hall of Fame announcer for the Cubs. And then at night, my dad would come home and we had the White Sox. So I listened to the radio and I tell kids, find out what your passion is. Whatever it is, broadcasting, playing sports, or being a doctor, lawyer, whatever, or whatever you want to do. And make a career out of it. And that's what I did. That's what I tell kids, find out what your passion is, make a career out of it. But I fell in love with the game of baseball, and I thought, I'd like to be that voice coming out of the radio. And I tell kids, the most important thing when you get into broadcasting on radio is theater of the mind. And you have to, with your words that you choose and the way that you set up the drama, you got to make people feel like they're at the ballpark. You got to be able to have them see the game through their imagination, through your eyes. And when you do that, then we're doing our jobs then. If you can put them in the front row seat at T-Mobile Park in Seattle, or a front row seat at Petco Park in San Diego, Fenway Park or Yankee Stadium, then we're doing a job. But love what you do, talk to people, ask questions. 8 years in the minor leagues, I sat in those buses, for 8 hours, 18 hours, 12 hours talking to Felipe Alou and Bob Miller and all the managers that I had in the minor leagues and all the managers I've had in the big leagues. And we'll find out about the game of baseball and, just love what you do. So that's what I tell them. It's quite a commitment, but it's a great journey, and you could live your dream because I'm doing it and you could do it too.
Rick, that's great advice. I do want to ask one follow-up on that. 8 years in the minor leagues is a long time, and I know you got to love it, right? At what point, how did you battle through knowing that this is the process that I need to do to get to the job that I want without getting discouraged that it seems like it's not going as fast as you might want it to go? That's something that I've dealt with before. I know a lot of broadcasters deal with that, but how did you keep pushing during those 8 seasons in the minor leagues, knowing like, this is going to work out for me. I got to keep going?
Man, that's a great question. I don't know why, Braden, but I think the thing that made me hang in there was at the beginning of my journey, right out of college, one of my best friends who graduated a year before me at Southern Illinois University became the general manager of the Padres AA team in Alexandria, Louisiana in 1974. Then he hired me in 1975, and I went down there as the clubhouse guy. I washed the uniform, shined the shoes for the visiting players, Bruce Suter and with the Midland Cubs and Jack Clark with the Lafayette Drillers. And that's how I got started. But to answer your question, for some reason, I gave myself 10 years. And I said, if I don't make it within 10 years to the big leagues, I've got to look for something else. I was 21 years old, out of college, played on the JV team at Southern Illinois University. And I think that gave me hope. And I made it in 8. So I was running out of time. But as you get along in your minor league career, listen to yourself and critique yourself more than anybody else does. And you learn the game of baseball and you get better along the way. And you go, wow, I did a pretty good game last night, or I had a pretty good year. And that keeps you going. You got to have the support. If you're a young married guy, you got to have the support of your wife or your family. And I had the support of my mother and my father. And I just kept going. And thank God that in 1983, Dave Niehaus liked my tape. And there he was after 8 years in the minor leagues, finally in the big leagues in the Kingdom in April of 1983, doing a game between the Mariners and the Yankees. It was Gaylord Perry against Ron Guidry. And I wasn't in Toledo, Ohio, doing a game for the Columbus Clippers. So you got to have faith in yourself and a lot of support along the way.
Mariners radio broadcaster Rick Rizzs joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show. Rick, I could talk to you about broadcasting for hours, but we got to talk about the Seattle Mariners coming into town to take on the San Diego Padres as part of the Vedder Cup. Mariners got off to a decent start and then have kind of cooled down in the last couple of games or so. Mariners offense has cooled off recently. What adjustments have you seen from the Mariners to try to get back into what they were doing at the beginning of the year that put them into first place?
Yeah, Braden, it was an interesting flip-flop because last year the strength of the ball club, and they just missed out of the playoffs by one game. The strength of the team was the starting rotation. The Mariners had the best starting rotation in all of baseball with Luis Castillo and Logan Gilbert and Bryce Miller and Brian Wu and George Kirby. And these guys were amazing. They took the ball every 5 days, and the offense really struggled. They didn't walk. They were striking out at a record pace last year. If they were down by 2 or 3 runs early in the game, they didn't come back. But this year was totally different. It was the offense that carried the ball club in the early part of the year. Jorge Polanco came back. He was hurt last year. He was one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball. Cal Raleigh is the best catcher, I believe, in the game of baseball, hitting home runs, hitting for a decent average. What he does behind the plate and handling the pitching staff and throwing runners out. J.P. Crawford, amazing in the number 9 spot in the order. Started hit again. He was hurt last year, and now he's back up in the leadoff spot. And on and on and on. Randy Arozarena, coming up with huge hits late in ball games. Julio Rodríguez got off to a slow start, but now he's doing Julio things, and he's being the hitter that we know he can be, and playing great defense in center field. The bottom part of the order was doing great. So it was the offense that was carrying the ball club. And then all of a sudden, they've had this rash of injuries to 3 of the main 5 starters in the rotation that was so outstanding last year. We haven't seen George Kirby yet this year, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, an all-star a few years ago with a shoulder issue. He's going to have a rehab start with our AAA team Tacoma today. Hopefully we're going to get him back real soon. Logan Gilbert, who was an all-star last year, went on the injured list a couple of weeks ago with a strained flexor muscle tendon in his right elbow. So we don't know when he's going to come back. And Bryce Miller just went on the injured list a few days ago. So everybody has stepped up. They refuse to lose. They find a way to win. Dan Wilson, our new manager who took over in August of last year, and hitting coach Edgar Martinez, along with Kevin Seitzer and Bobby Maganis, have done a great job of, getting these guys up to the big leagues. Logan Ovens going tonight, making his 4th major league start. Emerson Hancock, Ben Williamson has been an amazing pickup, a young third baseman. Robles is on the IL, Bliss on the IL. Like I said, you got Miller, Kirby, Gilbert on the injured list, Luke Raley. But they battle. They just find a way to win games. So once they get those three guys back in the starting rotation, they're really going to take off. But you look at the standings, and they're in first place by a half game to the America League West. They're still hanging in there. It's an amazing team. They just don't give up, and they really play well together and fight for each other.
Mariners radio broadcaster Rick Rizzs joining us on the Braden Surprenant show. You mentioned all the injuries to the starting rotation. That usually means not only does the offense got to pick it up, but the bullpen has to be able to pick up some of the slack. How has the bullpen managed to maintain such a respectable ERA despite the increased workload due to the starters being out?
Yeah, that's a great question. Guys have stepped up. Gabe Spire was hurt last year. He's been one of the best relievers, I think, in the game of baseball. One of our lefties down in the bullpen. They have one of the best closers in the game, and Andres Munoz, who was the American League reliever of the year in the month of April. He's got 13 saves. I think his earned run average is still 0. He's given up 2 runs, but both are unearned. And Matt Brash is back. He was out all of last year with Tommy John surgery, so it's great to have him back in there. And the other guys have pitched well, Colin Snyder and Trent Thornton. And this kid, Carlos Vargas, has been outstanding. He makes the ball club out of spring training. He's going to be maybe the long guy out of the bullpen, but he works himself now into high leverage situations. Bizzardo has pitched well. So it's just a matter, Braden, of guys stepping up at the right time, and they just keep plugging away. They play a lot of close ball games, especially right now. The offense is kind of sputtering a little bit and slowed down on the last homestand against Toronto and New York, the Yankees. But the bullpen is doing a good job. But once they get the ball to Andres Munoz, the ball game is pretty much over. This kid is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, former Padre Andres Munoz. A lot of Padres fans wish that he was still part of the bullpen here in San Diego. Obviously, a lot of trades between the two teams of the last couple of years. But with this matchup with San Diego, we obviously see the Padres day in and day out. From an outside look, as you get prepared for your broadcast, what are you most excited to see with this San Diego Padres team and how they stack up against the Mariners team that you see every single day?
Well, your lineup is absolutely amazing. You got a lot of talent in that lineup, and Jackson Merrill, a young shortstop, now center fielder, Gold Glove center fielder, has turned into one of the better players in the National League. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And then Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis, and you go on and on and on. There's just so much talent in that lineup. So that's always something that not only the Mariners, but everybody else, especially in the National League, has to contend with. Michael King is having, as you know, a heck of a season for your ball club. We got Stephen Kolek going tonight, 2 starts, and he's won both of those without giving up a run. Nick Pivetta, veteran right-hander, 5-2 with a 3 ERA. Michael King, 4-1 with a 2.32 ERA. So it's going to be a great series. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. You guys have to contend with Brian Wu, the 3rd game of the series. Wu's been absolutely amazing last year and again this year. This kid has pitched so well, 4-1 with a 2.84 ERA, and that ERA is that high because of just one little bit of a rough outing. So it's going to be a great series. The Vedder Cup begins tonight, coming out to Petco Park, and I'm excited about Game 1 tonight.
Last thing for you, Rick, as we let you go and get you ready for let you get prepared for the game tonight. What are your thoughts on the Vedder Cup rivalry? Right, rivalry. They share the Mariners and Padres share a complex together. Seemed like they were the odd men out when it came to the interleague rivalry that they put together a long time ago. They finally put the Vedder Cup name on it. We know it from a kind of a sense of some trolling with the Vedder Cup, with Eddie Vedder being both the San Diegan and spending time in Seattle. What's the Seattle perspective of the whole Padres Mariners series?
I think it's great that somebody has created this rivalry. I mean, you're believe it or not, our natural opponent, being far south of San Diego, because we don't have anything really close to us up there in the Northwest. So I think it's great that Eddie Vedder gets involved, and it's called the Vedder Cup, and it creates more of starts a tradition or a rivalry or excitement, saying, hey, it creates more importance on the series in each and every game. So it's just fun that this name is attached to it, that Eddie Vedder is attached to it with his ties in San Diego, and of course with his music up in Seattle. And so it's just a fun thing. So I'm looking forward to it. And is he going to be at the ballpark tonight?
I don't know. Did they say? I don't know if he is or not. I know eventually he'll be at one of the 6. I thought they said he was going to be at one of the 6 games. So I don't know if it's going to be in Seattle later in the year or here in San Diego. But a very, very fun weekend. Hopefully you're paying attention to the exit velocity there, Rick, because that could be a tiebreaker later in the season.
Yeah, that could be. It's going to be a lot of fun. I love going down to spring training. As everybody knows, we share a complex with the Padres. It's always fun when we play that first game, and I know everything is right with the world when we come out of Seattle with the weather there. It's cold and dreary and rainy all off season, but then you get down to spring training and you play that first game in Peoria against the San Diego Padres, and everything is right with the world when the baseball season gets underway when we play the Padres. Now here we are during the regular season. Every game counts. Every game matters. Every game is relevant because we came so close to making the playoffs last year, Braden, by just one game. So it matters what you do on May the 16th or whatever day it is today, because with the tiebreakers and things like that, with no plan, every game is so important. So it's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
Rick, I had a lot of fun talking to you. Thank you for the advice for all the future broadcasters out there, myself included. I'll try to incorporate that in some of my broadcasts this weekend over at USD. Have some fun calls. Enjoy your time in San Diego. We look forward to talking to you again.
All right, buddy. We'll see you at the ballpark. You take care.
Rick Rizzs, the Mariners radio broadcaster in his 40th season of Seattle Mariners baseball. What a lovely conversation that was. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Big thank you to Rick Rizzs, who has been doing this job for such a long time at such a high level. I've been able to call some games now for the last couple of years. But at 30 years old, trying to make my way up as much as I can. And every level of broadcasting, it really is. It's really cool to be able to pick the brains of some of these play-by-play men. And Frank does a great job of getting these guys so we're able to do it. I saw some compliments in the chat, Frank. Great job getting Rick Rizzs. That was a fun conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely fantastic. I texted Sam Levitt because he was actually going to try to help us get him on also earlier in the week. I wish we could have done another 5 more segments with him. That was an absolutely incredible listen. Fantastic job. And it'll be up on YouTube within the next 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of different things. I had to ask him about some of the broadcaster stuff. I mean, I get questions from people all the time about like advice and everything like that. I've still young in my broadcast career. There's only so much knowledge I could give out there. But when you got a guy that has been doing it for this long and has been so successful, it's great to be able to talk to him and pick his brain. And I wish I could sit down and pick his brain for a lot longer. But we needed to get to the series preview. And a very interesting perspective from the Mariners side of all these things. They're excited for the Vedder Cup. You know what? Put a little extra juice on some of the games. Make it worth something. Instead of just being like, well, we get stuck with the Mariners because they don't have a natural rival and we don't have a natural interleague rival because Anaheim goes to LA. Let's make it worth something. You think he's tracking the exit velo during the game? Is Jesse and Tony going to be tracking the exit velo?
Jesse, I think, without a doubt, will be. That is right up his alley.
Did we get what is it? The average exit velocity of the team, or is it like whoever had the highest one? I forget. What did they say in the tie-breaking deal?
I don't care enough.
Come on, man. It's supposed to be on it.
Oh, come on. It's not like a college football rivalry where we're 100 games in and everything matters.
It's now. It's college football. We got a trophy.
I think it's the single highest is what Frankie Watkins is suggesting in the chat.
So it's basically like Fernando versus Julio Rodríguez, who hits the ball the hardest.
Fair enough.
I can't wait for Xander Bogaerts to have the highest exit velo in this thing.
And the best part
Douse
is
him with the Gatorade cooler.
The best part is we want to hype this up. We want to make this thing as big as possible. It's the Vedder Cup. It's San Diego versus Seattle. We're going to hide it away on Apple TV Plus tonight.
Ah, you had to go there, didn't you?
Great job,
You had to
MLB.
go there, didn't you?
Good job.
I see we found all the names of these.
Unfortunately, yes.
A lot of them were just listed as interleague rival, in which, again, there's something called a tease, Frank. Don't spoil it like you did yesterday a couple times. Frank coined the phrase for a lot of these himself, and it's kind of funny. They're all the same one, though.
No, that's the list of names that I put down.
I know, except for
there's one.
Milwaukee, Minnesota, Boston, Atlanta, Toronto, Detroit. And then you're unofficially one based on a score bug. We'll talk about that in the noon hour. Coming up next, we will preview the Vedder Cup tonight. Mariners, Padres, 3-game series. Logan Evans, Stephen Kolek, tonight's matchup. Coming up next. 11 a.m. on the Braden Surprenant Show, starting hour number 2 as we lead you up to Gwynn and Chris at 2 o'clock before they get you ready for the Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show at 5:40. First pitch tonight at 6:40. You have to watch it on Apple TV+. Or you can listen to us. We'll have the games all the time. We're the home of the Padres. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are 6:40 tonight. We are 5:40 tomorrow, and we are 1:10 on Sunday as we start a 3-game series against the Seattle Mariners. We had a preview of this in our last segment with Rizzs. Wonderful interview. And we greatly thank Rizzs and the Seattle Mariners for making that happen. It was a great interview. If you missed it, we are going to have it on podcast form. We will also have it on, you can rewind and listen to it on the Odyssey app. And Frank right now is posting it separately on our YouTube page. So if you're driving down to the ballpark later today and you want to hear a full preview of the Seattle Mariners, fire it up. Take a listen. Any aspiring broadcasters out there, in any form of broadcasting, you can tune into it as well. He gives out some good advice. So super cool for Rizzs to join us on the show. Coming up later today on Gwynn and Chris, it is a Friar Friday. Mike Schilt was on with Ben and Woods earlier today. You can hear that interview wherever you get your podcasts. You go back on YouTube or the rewind function. But coming up at 2:40 today, Brandon Lockridge will be joining Gwynn and Chris. So fun days on Fridays, Friar Fridays. Frank Marchese getting the job done with getting us Rizzs, which is great. So really appreciate all of the hard work that Frank does. Made a great interview today with Rizzs, and we highly recommend you checking that out. Let's talk about the Seattle Mariners, shall we? Seattle comes in with a 23-19 record. San Diego Padres are 27-15. Mariners have a slight lead in the American League West. And even though that they come kind of limping in after the last week or so, they still have a lead in the American League West. Looking at the standings and where everybody is playing right now in Major League Baseball, especially in the American League that's wide open, I would imagine Seattle's going to be there near the end of the year. And you got to play this team another 3 times in Seattle. Mariners currently are the 5th best team in the American League at the 23-19 record. 5 games behind Detroit for the #1 spot in the American League. But in the division, as I mentioned before, they have a half-game lead on the Texas Rangers, who have now been resurgent in the American League West. Rangers will play the Astros today, and actually is the lead-in on Apple TV Plus for the Mariners and the Padres. Tonight's matchup, Logan Evans, who's 1-1 to the 3.60 ERA against Stephen Kolek, 2-0, has not allowed a run in 14.5 innings. Stephen Kolek, the former Seattle Mariner product, who was picked up in the Rule 5 draft last season by the San Diego Padres, started his career as a starting pitcher. Mariners moved him to a bullpen piece. He came over to the Padres in the Rule 5 draft as a bullpen piece and is now a starting pitcher and has been great as a starting pitcher so far this year for the Padres. Saturday, it's Emerson Hancock, 1-2 with a 6.91 ERA against Nick Pivetta, 5-2 with a 3.05 ERA. That ERA really ballooned after the trip to Colorado. Now back in sea level, Nick Pivetta's ERA should come back down a little bit as well. A lot of his pitches don't play as well at high altitude like they do at sea level. Tomorrow's game's a 5:40 start. Brian Wu, who's been great this year for the Seattle Mariners, 4-1 at the 2.84 ERA, will go against Michael King, 4-1 at the 2.32 ERA. That will be Sunday's matchup at 1:10. What to watch for the Seattle Mariners? Their run differential's plus 11. They're 10-8 currently on the road. And last year against the Padres in 4 games, 2 here and 2 on the road, 2 here and 2 in Seattle, the Mariners went 3-1. Now, in their last 10 games, due to a lot of injuries to the starting rotation, the Mariners are 3-7 in their last 10, but they've still stayed atop of the AL West. Tells you how good everybody else is as part of that group. Despite the recent slump, the Mariners' offense ranks above average, sitting 7th in weighted runs created plus with 114, and tied for 7th in home runs with 56. They can hit the long ball, something the Padres haven't done this year. In their recent performance, though, again with some of the injuries, the team has had a 545 OPS over its last 6 games with only 3 hitters above 640 in that span. Those hitters are Randy Arozarena, 908 OPS. Cal Raleigh, a.k.a. Big Dumper, just got a big contract for the Mariners, their catcher, with an 865 OPS. And Dylan Moore with a 795 OPS. Key players to look for, Jorge Polanco leads the team with a 1030 OPS and 29 RBIs. Cal Raleigh is the team leader in home runs with 13. Big Dumper. And, of course, Julio Rodríguez, their young sensation that signed the big contract as well out of the gate. He's currently hitting 240, 240, 400 on the slash line over his last 6 games, but he remains a dynamic presence in the lineup as well as the defensive presence. I mean, he robbed Trent Grisham of a home run earlier this week against the Yankees at home. He probably should have had 2 home run robberies at T-Mobile Park this week, I should say. Pitching-wise for the Mariners, again, their starting rotation has been decimated by injuries, but they still continue to have decent numbers. They're kind of middle of the pack right now. Overall, team ERA is at 3.91, 15th in Major League Baseball. Their bullpen ERA is at 3.62, 12th in MLB. This past week, though, in which they have struggled, the pitching staff has struggled. Pitching staff has a 5.63 ERA over this past week, most notably against the New York Yankees. Starting rotation is missing some key players, as mentioned by Rick Rizzs. Bryce Miller was placed on the 15-day injured list with right elbow inflammation. Logan Gilbert, who's out with a right elbow flexor strain, he's expected to return by the end of May. So you might see him when you play the Mariners again later in the year. And George Kirby, who's recovering from right shoulder inflammation, has a potential return of May 22nd. Again, just missing the San Diego Padres. But those are 3 major injuries for the starting pitchers. Now, in terms of the starting pitchers this weekend, Logan Evans, who I mentioned before, the 1-1 record and a 3.60 ERA, a rookie with 3 starts. He's allowed 11 runs, 6 earned over 15 innings. Right-handed hitters, though, have done very well against Logan Evans. They're batting .324 against Evans this year. Something to watch for in tonight's game. Stephen Kolek has yet to allow a run this season, 14 2/3 scoreless innings to start the season. On Saturday, Emerson Hancock struggled in his last start. He allowed 7 runs and 3 homers in 5 innings. He's 1-2 with a 6.91 ERA. I mentioned Nick Pivetta for the Padres. He has a 3.05 ERA on the year, but he's been strong at home, a 1.42 at Petco Park. Sunday, Padres got to do with Brian Wu, as the Mariners will throw all right-handers this weekend. Wu is 4-1 with a 2.84 ERA and has quality starts in 6 of 8 outings. He's a lot better, though, at T-Mobile Park than he is on the road. At T-Mobile Park, Brian Wu has a 0.93 ERA. On the road this year, it's a 4.02. So I like the way things match up for the San Diego Padres. With their lineup, their star-studded lineup with the pitching staff that the Padres have at home. Hopefully the bullpen can continue on matching the success that they had a couple of days ago, and they're out of that slump that they were a part of. You got to deal with Jorge Polanco. You got to deal with Cal Raleigh. I mean, those are two bats in the lineup that are going to be a problem. Polanco this year is hitting .324 with 10 long balls and 29 RBIs. Cal Raleigh, a .248 average. He's got 13 home runs and 28 RBIs. Julio Rodríguez has 7 pumps, but he's only just hitting under 230 at .229. Randy Arozarena has done a decent job, but not that high of an average with a .236 average, 5 home runs, and 20 RBIs. Those are the 4 players that you would have to worry about the most when it comes to Seattle Mariners. Should be a fun weekend here at Petco Park. Vedder Cup. I hope you're all writing down the exit velos as they come about. Keep track of that. That might be a big I can't even say it with a straight face. Big tiebreaker for the Vedder Cup. If you take care of business and win games, though, you get the trophy. You get the trophy. Rick Rizzs asked if Eddie Vedder was going to be in attendance this weekend. Apparently, Pearl Jam's in Pittsburgh. So take that for what it's worth. That's what Adam Paul said. How does Adam know that information, by the way? It's human encyclopedia.
It's also called the Google machine. That's a thing.
Look at it fast, though. I mean, I'm not going to be doing it all the time. You want to look at Pearl Jam's tour? They were just in Atlanta because Adam Klug is a big Pearl Jam guy, and he was jealous about his friends going to Pearl Jam. Yeah, they're in Pittsburgh today and Sunday. Probably not coming out here. So take that for what it's worth. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Brandon Lockridge is on with Gwynn and Chris later today at 2:40. Could he be a long-term fit with the Padres in left field? We'll answer that question when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Little Pearl Jam for you on a Friday. Eddie Vedder. The Vedder Cup starts tonight. It's the beginning of 6 games between the Padres and the Mariners. 3 here and 3 in Seattle. Was that August? What's our handy-dandy calendar schedule over there say? Yeah, August. Even flow. I'm not even gonna. Vedder songs are great. There's one song. I got a couple of Eddie Vedder songs that I like. That are just, they're not Pearl Jam songs, they're Eddie Vedder songs that I currently have on my deal here. And right now my phone's getting blown up with this. Morgan Wallen released his new album. Officially released all the songs, even though I had a couple of them on there. Maybe we'll add them some to the rotation for you. I saw Brandon in the chat's big country tour guy. He's tailgating Hardy next week. Should be a fun time. I will not be attending Hardy. Here it is. Let me look at the 2 songs. If you want to get into the mood of the Vedder Cup, one of them, I like this song. They had it on MLB The Show a couple years ago. Invincible by Eddie Vedder. Good song. Starts off kind of weird. Like it's just very Eddie Vedder. Like he's just saying a bunch of random words and stuff. Sounds like some poetry, but that's a good one. The other one that I have right now that is great, and it's Eddie Vedder doing a cover. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. Eddie Vedder's doing a cover of Save It for Later by the English Beat. It's a pretty good cover. And so that's the other one that I have right now for all you music people out there. So if you want to get into the mood for the Vedder Cup, not just Pearl Jam, but some Eddie Vedder, the cover of Save It for Later, great. Invincible by Eddie Vedder, also great. Check it out. Take a listen. Let me know what you think. Get into the mood.
Also, by the way, YouTube, don't get mad at us. I did that on a spur of the moment, and I forgot to take it out of record, so it didn't go over YouTube. Don't yell at us.
Right,
that
so
was completely by accident.
At the end of the show, when you get the copyright thing, just go and click erase song, and then let the thing do it.
It was an accident.
Maybe we could play some of those songs when we come back from other rejoins, but those are the 2. Some of these covers, I think covers are pretty good. The other cover I like, it's not Eddie Vedder, and it's older. But the other cover that I had going right now is Hootie and the Blowfish covering Hey Hey What Can I Do by Led Zeppelin. That's a pretty solid one too. Pretty solid one. Padres Diehard goes, what connection does Eddie Vedder have to the Padres? It's not to the Padres. He went to San Diego High School. So he went to high school here in San Diego. That is the connection. Anyway, I digress. Good call on the Pearl Jam there, Frank.
Good call. Unfortunate execution.
It's okay. Fumbled the bag on a Friday. Could Brandon Lockridge be a long-term fit? Brandon Lockridge was acquired by the Padres last season in a trade for Enyel De Los Santos. The Yankees needed pitching, needed bullpen help. And the Padres, last trade deadline, went under the radar, sent Enyel De Los Santos to the Yankees and got back Brandon Lockridge, which at the time I thought was a great pickup for the Padres just because you shipped off Enyel De Los Santos, who was batting practice more times than not in a Padres uniform. Padres won that trade just because he lasted like 2 weeks in New York before they just flat out DFA'd him. And now you have Brandon Lockridge. Now, Brandon Lockridge brings a lot of intangibles for the Padres. He's good defensively. He's got good speed. You could play him in center. You could play him in left field. And I think he's got a little bit of upside. Now, if I remember correctly, Well, I had it for a second. There it is. If I remember correctly, when you look at he's not like super young. He's still young, but it's not like he's 26. He's 28. So, but he's under contract now for a couple of years. It's in the arbitration phase. You have control over Brandon Lockridge. I think he's a good asset for the team. But that being said, like a long-term fit in left field, like I don't think he's going to be your everyday left fielder or center fielder in the future. Obviously, you have Jackson Merrill in center field. But you got the start of a struggling Jason Hayward a couple of days ago, despite righty on the mound. He delivered a 2 RBI single. He's got good defense, solid at-bats are earning him more looks. Hitting .294 in his last 7 games with 2 RBIs and 2 stolen bases. Before he went on the injured list, he was hitting a decent amount, starting to really turn it around. On the season, he's hitting .235. He's 12 for 51. He's got a 0.3 WAR, 4 RBIs, 7 runs scored, 6 stolen bases as mentioned. He is the best defensive option in left field right now. But the question is, could it be a long-term fit? I think the answer to that is no. I don't think he's a long-term fit. I think he's a good asset for the Padres. I think he's a good bench piece. I think he's a fine defensive replacement. I think he's a fine spot starter. But I don't really think Brandon Lockridge could be an everyday starter. I mean, he's 28 right now. So maybe in the next 2 years, you're going to be getting the best out of Brandon Lockridge. I think you got to roll him out there and get an opportunity to see him perform on an everyday basis. But I still think, and this is the question that was asked on the roundtable yesterday, I still think the Padres left fielder and whoever starts in left field for the Padres in October or even in September and August is currently not on the Padres roster. I don't think they're part of the Padres organization. You can talk about Oscar Gonzalez and Tirso Ornelas all you want. There's a reason why they're in AAA right now. What I've seen out of Tirso Ornelas at the major league level does not give me confidence for him to be an everyday left fielder. He looked completely lost at the plate in the major leagues. Didn't get too many at-bats, but his at-bats weren't very good. He still needs some time. And even then, I don't think he projects to be a starting outfielder. He's probably, at best, a bench piece. And if you go look, and Fangraphs does this, when Fangraphs puts out their top 30 prospects in the organization, they give a ceiling for every player. I bet you if you look at the ceiling for the players that are in the Padres minor league system, not named Leo Vries and not named Ethan Salas, probably a bench piece at best. I could go pull that up before the next segment. But again, for like the people that want to see Oscar Gonzalez and Tirso Ornelas starting in left field, if they thought those guys could start in left field right now, they would be doing it. But they're not. I think a lot of people are tired of watching Jason Hayward at the plate. A lot of fans. I think you got to spot start Hayward and Lockridge. I think it's got to be a rotation thing. But if Jason Hayward's going to be on the team, and we heard from Mike Schilt earlier on the manager's report with Ben and Woods about the other things that Jason Hayward brings to the table, they're going to give him time to try to produce in left field. I saw somebody earlier in the chat go like, so you're advocating for him to be on the team for half the season. I'm not advocating for anything. Just based on what the Padres are saying, this is probably what they're going to do. I'm not there every day. I don't know. I don't know what he brings from a leadership standpoint. I don't know what he brings from a, scouting and a research department spot. I mean, I understand the whole, like, you can't waste a roster spot on an extra coach, but like, I don't know what he does behind the scenes that Mike Schilt has said does a lot behind the scenes. So if Mike Schilt and the Padres are saying XYZ about Jason Hayward, I am translating it to he's going to get as much time as needed to try to get into a groove. And so they're probably going to give him past Memorial Day. I thought at the beginning of the season it would be kind of shocking to see Jason Hayward on the team past Memorial Day. But that being said, who are you going to replace him with? They value Jason Hayward's behind-the-scenes metrics, if you will, and what he brings to the team that's not on the, quote, spreadsheet, more than they value Tirso Ornelas in the box. Just look at their actions. The Padres do a great job of not saying anything poor about any of their players. But think about this for a second. Think about it. Because somebody in the I Need Money in the chat says everything you said about Tirso sums up Jason Hayward. If they thought Tirso Ornelas was a better option than Jason Hayward, he would be the option right now in left field with Brandon Lockridge. They obviously don't think that. That's why Tirso is in AAA. That's why he's in AAA. If they thought, and now eventually they're going to get to a point where Oscar Gonzalez or Tirso Ornelas, for all the Tirso lovers out there, they're going to get to a point where they think those players contributing offensively on the spreadsheet outweigh the intangibles of Jason Hayward behind the scenes if Hayward continues to play at the level that he is playing offensively. Again, he does a good job defensively and a good job on the base paths. Right now, it's just the offense. And so the Padres are going to be patient with that. I'm not saying I agree with the Padres. I'm not saying I disagree. This is just what they've been kind of telling us over the last couple of weeks. You see their actions in front of you when you see the lineup card come out. Obviously, a couple of days ago, they believed that Brandon Lockridge on the spreadsheet might outweigh a little bit more than the defense and the base running that Jason Hayward brings. Now, here's the other thing. When you have a catching situation that is strictly for defense and is already, quote, an automatic out in the order, you got to start mixing in other guys in left field because, as Crisello mentioned, and I know the Padres probably don't want this either, you can't have multiple automatic outs in an order of a baseball team that's going to be, quote, a contender for a World Series. You just can't have it. Catchers are there defensively only. They said at the beginning of the year, they said they can stomach 200 out of Martin Maldonado. So you can't really complain about the offense for the catchers. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're managing, they're handling the pitchers. Crisello, from a organizational standpoint, if he was running the club, disagrees with that, but that's what the Padres are doing, and that's what a lot of Major League Baseball teams do. You don't get a lot of offensive production out of catchers except for said unicorns, which are Adley Rutschman and Salvador Perez and JT Realmuto. I mean, they come once a generation because they're worried about catching. You're hoping that a guy like Ethan Salas can eventually hit because he is right now, according to scouts, at an elite level defensively where he might actually be a better defensive catcher and better at handling pitchers than your current options at the major league level. What's he, 19? Think about that for a second. He's currently hurt. But if he could get his average up and he can start to hit a little bit, you're going to be seeing him sooner rather than later. But Brandon Lockridge is a long-term solution. I don't think it's a long-term solution. I think it's a long-term depth piece for sure. I think Brandon Lockridge brings a lot of great things to the San Diego Padres. And Brandon Lockridge is not going to get paid a lot of money. And Brandon Lockridge is going to be under control for a long period of time. And Brandon Lockridge is going to be a depth piece that saves you money. And from that standpoint, yes, I do like Brandon Lockridge. From a standpoint of him starting every day? Probably not. Probably not. Again, your left fielder. Here, I'll put it this way. What did Rizzs say about radio? It's an avenue of the mind, something of the mind, right? Let's picture it together. It's October. You're playing it's about to start the playoff series. Now, as of right now, the Padres are not the division leader, so let's just pretend it's the wild card series. You're playing host to another wild card team. Let's say it just so happens to be San Francisco or Arizona or maybe the Braves or the Phillies or something like that. And Alex Miniak is announcing the entire roster for the 2025 San Diego Padres. Welcome to the wild card series. When he gets to whoever is starting in left field, he is not going to say a name that is currently part of the organization. He'll announce Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill in left field. That's a terrible Alex Miniak impersonation, by the way. A little bit deeper of a voice. In left field for the Padres. Somebody else. It ain't going to be somebody on the team right now. And it's probably not going to be Brandon Lockridge. I think Lockridge brings a lot to this team. I can't imagine being the everyday starter. Now, here's the deal. If he becomes the everyday starting left fielder for the Padres because he plays at that level, or you can use him as an everyday left fielder, Padres have struck gold. You traded Enlo De Los Santos for Brandon Lockridge. And now you got an everyday left fielder that you don't have to pay any money to because you have him under control for 6 years. And by the time he's done, or 5 years, whatever it is now, it's like he's not even on the Fangraphs roster resource page. But by the time his contract is done, he's going to be like 35, 36 years old. Let him walk. You don't have to give him any money. That'd be a savior for the payroll. If that happens. I don't think it's going to happen. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Brandon Lockridge will be on with Gwynn and Chris today at 2:40. Manny Machado is off to a hot start in 2025. Is he about to go on a legendary Manny Machado run? We'll talk about that when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Rivalry Weekend is already underway in Major League Baseball. Frank has been waiting for this weekend all week long, all month long. He's been on the edge of his seat. He cannot wait for this weekend.
I've been waiting for the Speedway clash or whatever they called it between Atlanta and Cincinnati at Bristol. Ooh, that's what I've been waiting for.
Of course you have. Is that later in the year?
Yeah.
I'm surprised, remember they did Virginia Tech, Tennessee at that?
Yes, at Bristol, yes.
That was awesome. They should do more college football games there.
It's in August.
Yeah, I feel like the baseball game is going to be weird there compared
August
to
2nd.
A football game there. Tennessee played Virginia Tech. I thought that was the coolest thing. And then they didn't even play the game at night. They played it at 9 in the morning. They should have played it at night.
Just putting it out there, Adam, if you want someone to go out there and cover it because it is your Atlanta Braves playing in the game, I am more than available to go to Bristol to cover the game.
If we are blessed enough to continue this show, I go day by day on these shows. Just trying to get a good show every single day.
Oh, whether I'm with the show or not, I am available.
But I'm talking about future stuff involving the Padres. We are blessed enough to continue this show, always day to day in the future, where they go to either Iowa for the Field of Dreams or they go to some type of NASCAR facility to play a game or some crazy game in the United States, I will volunteer to go with Frank. If it's outside the United States, well, it's going to be hard to do, long travel, everything like that. But yes, they're not doing the Field of Dreams game, right? They're redoing everything.
I don't think so.
They do it and they start it up again next year. I'd have to ask.
Oh, that's right. Go Aztecs. Survivor Series available to cover that as well at Petco Park in November.
I don't think you are competing with many people on that. At least at the station.
No, probably not.
You're probably the first in line.
It's a short line, that.
Oh, circus in Chicago. Yard sale. Can't see it. It's too sunny. Can't see it. It's too sunny. Uh-oh. Pete Crow Armstrong. Rough. Cubs were in their baby blue City Connects with the white pants, but they got the Armed Forces hats. I can see why the Padres are not wearing their City Connects tonight.
So, again, it's Rivalry Weekend.
Hey.
It's also Armed Forces Weekend.
Yeah, why didn't you do two separate weekends for that?
Exactly. You put a hat on a hat.
Yeah.
You got two gimmicks on top of each other.
They got to take a lesson from your favorite league, the NFL. Different gimmicks, different weekends.
Just don't.
I like the Armed Forces thing. That's not a gimmick. Honoring our soldiers.
Well,
good
it
stuff.
Is.
But
yeah, I agree. It's for a good cause. But at the end of the day, it is a gimmick. But you don't put a hat on a hat. If you want to make it special, if you want to make it stand out, you give it its own thing. You don't just lump it together with something else.
Correct. Chase Mydroth at the plate, USD Torero. I like the military stuff. I just the mix of the military with the City Connect, it just looks weird. I mean, to make it military everything. I mean, it'd be nice for the other leagues they should have done military jerseys then on a different weekend than the Rivalry Weekend.
Especially with Memorial Day's next week, right? Next
weekend. They
weekend.
usually do that. They should have moved the Rivalry Weekend to a different weekend because they always do the Armed Forces deal this weekend before Memorial Day weekend.
Or do Armed Forces Weekend, I don't know, maybe the weekend of Memorial Day.
Well, they do a different thing from Memorial Day. They do Memorial Day weekend stuff.
See, now we're just dropping gimmicks to sell more merch to make more money. We're focused on Chicago having a mare of a game.
Oh! Circus!
Leg kick on the double play.
What?
Dansby Swanson holds onto the ball out at second base. And I'm guessing base runner interference. Yep. So the inning's over. There you go.
Yep. There it is. What in the Chase Utley's going on? Ah.
He didn't go out of his. Oh, come off it. He did not go out of his way to take him out there. That was weak.
And talking about the people are disgruntled with what we said about Jason Hayward. I'm just telling you what they're saying, dude. I'm not saying it's a good idea. Here's the other thing. We could talk about all the intangibles that we want with Jason Hayward. Those are all intangibles that winning teams love. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He was a part of 2 winning teams last year. The Dodgers and the Astros. They both did not think it was enough to keep him on the team. So what really is the reason why he continues to play? They don't have any other options, guys. They don't have any other options. And until they get to the trade deadline when they start making some trades, Jason Hayward is a better option than Tirso Ornelas and Oscar Gonzalez. That is what the Padres are telling you. They believe Jason Hayward is better, and what he does at the plate is better than what Tirso Ornelas will do or what Oscar Gonzalez will do. That's all you need to know about what the Padres think about those 2 players. That is what their actions are telling you. So every time you see Hayward punch out or hit into a double play or pop and not produce in the 8-hole, just remember, Padres think that is a better opportunity for success for them than putting Tirso Ornelas in the box. So everybody that says they should bring up Tirso Ornelas, that is what they are thinking. They see it all the time. We don't. Same thing with Oscar Gonzalez. Now, at some point, one of those players in AAA might play better than Jason Hayward, in which that's the time that they're going to make the decision to let Hayward go and then bring up one of those players. But in the meantime, they're going to keep rolling him out there with Brandon Lockridge. I think Brandon Lockridge will probably get the higher percentage of starts in left field moving forward. But that is where you are at right now. So every time that you guys tell me and complain about Hayward, I'm not defending Hayward. This is what the actions are telling me. Just remember, the Padres think those at-bats are way better or better than what they would get out of the guys that are playing in the Pacific Coast League. Remember that. It's not like they're refusing to bring them. The team wants to win. They're in a position to win now. Why wouldn't they bring these guys up? It goes back to the whole phrase that I like to use all the time that I got from one of my coaches at Cathedral when I was playing, from when he played at Texas Southern and they were breaking down opponents and teams would be like, oh, this guy's so good. And the coach would tell him, if he was worth a bleep, he'd be playing at Nebraska. If he was worth what they if he was better than their current option, he'd be playing right now. Remember that. And remember, Frank Marchese has the best sports thread. Here's Frank.
Yep, we're going to have to go through these a little bit quicker.
Number 1.
I have friends and relatives who are Chicago Bears fans and see Caleb Williams as the next coming. However, according to the book American Kings, biography of the quarterback, Williams was trying to change his fate. According to the book, Carl Williams, father of Caleb, said, quote, Chicago is a place where quarterbacks go to die. Caleb was also telling confidants that he, quote, didn't think he could do it with former Bears offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. The book comes out in September and is already dropping some juicy content like this. Is this something, as a Bears fan, that would get you upset, or are you so jaded by the organization at this point, you're like, yeah, I get it?
I mean, I don't know why you would say it now at this point. I understand maybe at the beginning part of the year, but like I think to me, this is why I didn't believe in Caleb Williams out of the gate. I think the situation that he was put in was also going to make it worse. I mean, they thought that Caleb Williams is going to come in and Caleb Williams, the Bears are going to be great. Bears are going to be great. Bears are not going to be great. Bears might be better this year. They loaded up. They surrounded him with a bunch of talent. Now it's coming out that Caleb Williams didn't want to be there. Hopefully you don't piss off your fan base there in Chicago. But we'll see. I mean, winning solves everything.
Yep, absolutely.
Number 2.
The Washington Capitals are officially out of the playoffs, and now the biggest question within the organization is, what will Alexander Ovechkin do? Caps head coach Spencer Carberry said after last night, quote, "My understanding is that he is under contract, so he will be back next year. Even in his age 39 season, Ovi looked as though he has not missed a step, scoring an amazing 44 goals in 65 games, including 5 more in 10 games this postseason. His production is still high. He's broken Gretzky's record. He's won his Stanley Cup. Braden, can you find a reason for him to keep playing? But also on the same token, can you find a reason for him to stop?"
Stop playing because you're tired you're just want to relax. Keep playing because you enjoy what you're doing. I mean, at this point, I think it's going to come down to an enjoyment thing. I mean, going through the off season, getting your body prepared, everything like that, making it through an entire season. If the guy wants to play, he'll continue to play.
Absolutely, and it sounds like he's going to.
Number 3.
Former shortstop Rafael Furcal has gotten into a bit of trouble recently as he turned himself into a Florida jail on Wednesday. Furcal turned himself in at Broward County Jail on felony charges. Braden, listeners, chatters, I need you to strap yourself in for these charges. All right.
God.
A warrant was issued for Furcal's arrest on Monday for 1 felony count of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon and another count of throwing a missile into a public or private dwelling or vehicle. I have so many questions. How does one obtain a missile? Why do you need a missile? How do you throw said missile into a dwelling or vehicle?
I don't have any answers to those questions. Throwing a missile, not like I'm thinking of like an RPG.
Yeah.
And just hawking it somewhere. That's insane. That is insane. Or like one of those, I mean, a missile. He threw a missile. I'm picturing like something that looks like a torpedo, almost like the torpedo bat. And he just had one later, just throwing them in the facilities.
I mean, he had a good arm as a shortstop, but it's a little ambitious.
I used missile last night like twice during the broadcast. Bad timing on my part. Bad timing.
You should have known better.
Was it an actual missile or just the description of how hard he threw it?
I hope. I hope against hope.
Lunchtime hour when we come back. Braden Surprenant Show, Standing Someone Sports Station 97 through the Fan.
No one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime use.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
Lunch hour on the Fan. Always the time to get you hungry, right? Always the time to make you hungry. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's number one sports station, 97 through the Fan. Baseball coverage on 97 through the Fan, presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on iPhone 16 Pro. Coming up this hour, we will need contestants or a contestant for a midday sports standoff. Trying to qualify some people for an opportunity to win a trip to Vegas to see Bruno Mars coming up on September. So we'll need that coming up later. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We got people complaining about the open in there. Anyway, today starts Rivalry Weekend in Major League Baseball. This is something that Frank holds near and dear to his heart. He's been waiting for this for a long time, and the White Sox are White Soxing.
Pete Crow Armstrong has avenged his misfortune earlier.
Outfield. All right, Frank. We have our Rivalry Weekend.
Yes.
In which you have coined the phrase, the gimmick we didn't ask for, but we needed. Did we need?
No. No, we didn't.
Is this the Harvey Dent? Is this the Harvey Dent of gimmicks for the for Major League Baseball?
It's like
the hero we don't deserve, but the hero we need but don't deserve.
Like, if you're going to do a Rivalry Weekend, wouldn't it make sense to have, like, the team's closest rival? Now, I understand.
Well, then,
San Francisco, LA, San Diego, you can't play two teams at once. I get it.
It's the interleague things.
But this is...
I think the way that they set it up, it's not that bad.
It's not the worst.
It's the best. It's the best that they could do, because when you're thinking about this, it's a way to like hype up the interleague rivalries. So it's like the Chicago market, North Side versus South Side. It's a Subway Series with the Yankees and the Mets. It's the Guardians and the Reds. That doesn't mean that they don't have bigger rivals. It's just it's the close proximity rivalry weekend. Yankees Red Sox is bigger than Yankees Mets. I'm sorry, Frank.
No, it is. 100%.
It is. But like then it's just division games. It doesn't really matter. And then there's too many rivalries that are like tri-rivalries. No three-ways out there, okay? We can't be doing that. Because then if it's Philly, is it Phillies Braves? Is it Mets Braves? Is it Mets Phillies? Is it like Braves Marlins?
Mets Phillies.
Right? I mean, exactly. So you look at the interleague rivals. I think a lot of them are spot on. And then you mix in some of the other close ones that happen to be in the same league. Pirates, Phillies. They're not in the same division, but they're in the same state. I feel like it's fine. Now, with that, unfortunately for the Padres, they're the odd man. Them and the Mariners are the odd men out. So you start adding more teams to Major League Baseball. Now, if they had a team in Portland, Padres are really hosed in terms of the interleague rival. So you have the rivalries this week. In Big Ten fashion, they should all have trophies, because in Big Ten, every single game of the Big Ten has a trophy.
If you're going to do this, do it. Like, go all out and do it. Oh, dear, they've done it again. Oh, it was a double.
Still early.
Okay. It's still early.
Still early.
White Sox have given up 6 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Still early. The problem, though, with the trophy thing is like you have some division rivals mixed in. Like you have the Astros and the Rangers, and you have the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. They play each other 13 times. So it's a little bit different with that. But I like some of these, and you found all the names, which is great.
Did find all the names.
So then what we got going on right now is the White Sox and the Cubs. That is the Crosstown Classic. Have you ever heard the term the Crosstown Classic?
Never once in my life.
I've never heard that before. Do they have a trophy for this? They should.
Right.
They should have a Cub wearing socks.
I was going to say, no, the trophy right now should be a belt because that's exactly what the Cubs are doing right now.
Belt to ass is what the Cubs are doing. I feel bad, dude. The White Sox have a lot of San Diego connections. You wish they would do better.
And you know what's worse about it? It's free on MLB.TV this weekend. So you can watch
all the games, right?
Yes, every single game this weekend. It's a free MLB.TV weekend.
With the exception
of your local blackouts because,
or the exception of one. It's the Apple TV Plus game.
Oh, Houston, Texas is also on Apple TV Plus. So
I know, but that one's free game of the day, too. The only one that says it doesn't say. Is that because they have, like, our location services on here? Like on MLB.com, every game says free game of the day except for Mariners Padres. Or is that a free game for everybody else?
No, it's subject to local blackouts, of course, because why have anything fun?
No. The 2 Apple TV Plus games are not free games of the day. So you can watch every single game in Major League Baseball today.
Good job, baseball.
With the exception of Mariners, Padres, and Astros, Rangers.
Geniuses.
Thank you. I don't mind like the Apple TV broadcast itself.
No, it's fine.
It's all right. I don't like the fact that I got to go pay for Apple TV Plus to watch the Padres tonight.
Friend of the show, Wayne Randazzo, one of the broadcasters. He's calling one of them. I think he's calling tonight for the Padres.
I don't know why he wouldn't. It's the one that's close to him because then he has to drive up to L.A. tomorrow to the Angels-Dodgers game, I would imagine. Shipping him off to Texas to fly him back out here would be kind of ridiculous.
It would be. It'd be very ridiculous.
So we got the Crosstown Classic. Cincinnati and Cleveland is called
the Ohio Cup.
The Ohio Cup. Okay.
Sure.
I've never heard that before either.
Nope.
Have you heard about the Ohio Cup? No?
Nope.
I think it's kind of fun. Cleveland and Cincinnati. For all my Ohio residents in the chat, where'd our guy Brutus go? What's he think about this rivalry? It just means more for certain games than others. Pirates and Phillies. Hold on. Now we're going in the order that you put it. Baltimore and Washington.
It's the Beltway series.
We knew that one. We got that one right yesterday. Newer team in Washington. Don't know how much people really care about that, but still kind of cool. Yankees and Mets.
Subway series.
Yeah, we
of course.
knew that. How much is that? That probably matters a lot to you, huh?
No. I mean, of course you want to beat the Yankees, but I'd rather...
You hate the Yankees more than any other team.
I do.
But the Subway Series has to mean something for you.
It did in 2000 when it was being played in October. But a regular season game, it does nothing but bragging rights. I would much rather beat the Phillies in the regular season than beat the Yankees on a random day in May.
Boston, Atlanta.
Not important enough to name, apparently.
Interleague, it's just listed as interleague rival. They couldn't get anything on there.
Nope.
Couldn't even mention the fact that the Braves used to be in Boston. Nothing. No ties. They're just like the Padres Mariners. Miami, Tampa.
Citrus series.
I like that.
Yeah, not bad.
No disrespect there.
Florida Oranges.
Kansas City, St. Louis.
I-70 series.
Makes sense.
Yes, it
if you
does.
take I-70, you can probably go to both ballparks. Milwaukee, Minnesota.
Also not important enough to name.
I feel like you could name this the Cheese Curd series. There's so many like Midwest cuisine that you can name this series. They play. I mean, this one actually makes kind of sense.
Brie and Brews.
Brie cheese and brews.
Yep, Brie and Brews.
All right, not opposed. Moving on. Vedder Cup. Well, yeah, Got to coin that ourselves. LALA, the freeway series.
Yeah.
Which freeway do you take? But is it the five?
It's the five, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I-5 series?
Yep.
I guess you could do that for the Padres, too.
You could.
You could do it for both. The freeway series, because you're stuck in traffic on freeways that going back and forth. It takes you 4 hours to get there. How long does it take you to get from Yankee Stadium to Citi Field on a subway?
20 minutes, half hour.
It is faster to get through New York from Yankee Stadium to Citi Field than it would be to get from Angel Stadium
Yes.
to Dodger Stadium. Probably taking 4 hours. That's kind of extreme. Probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. San Francisco and the A's. This is
not,
BS. They
not
moved
important.
it.
Not important enough to rename. I should have put that on there. Not important enough to rename.
What was it before the Bay?
It was like
Bay
the
Bridge series,
the Bay Area Classic or whatever Bay Area series.
Bay Area
Battle
series.
for the Bay, something.
But now since they're
related.
very east of the Bay, no longer. What's going to happen in like 2 years, like when they're in Vegas? You mix everything up again?
Who cares?
When you do here's what you do. They move to Vegas. You add a team in Portland and you put a team in Nashville. Then you really shake everything up.
Yes, that just completely destroys the whole rivalry weekend concept.
Then the rivalry weekend will be Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels.
That works a lot better.
Portland, Seattle. Vegas could play Colorado, Vegas, Arizona, potentially. Now Colorado's kind of hosed, but that one's good. Cincinnati not playing, but would Cincinnati play Cleveland or would Cincinnati play Nashville?
Still
Maybe you
play
go
Cleveland.
Atlanta, Nashville.
Yeah, closer.
Battle for the South. Then who does Boston play?
Yankees.
SOL. They'll play the Yankees and the Mets play the Phillies, and then we go back to divisions.
Yes.
Phillies, Pirates. Somebody stole your thunder in the chat on that.
Yeah, no, this has unofficially, because of the way the score bug used to be. Now, I know NBC Sports changed their score bugs this year, so I don't think we're going to get it. But this has always unofficially been called the poop series because you had the Pittsburgh P, the 2 zeros for the score at the beginning of the game, and then the Phillies P.
That was only when they played in Philly on NBC. Their NBC bug looked like that.
Yes, the NBC Sports bug in Philadelphia looked like that.
Toronto, Detroit.
Also, not important enough to name.
It should be like the Border series or something, Border War or something like that.
No, it's not. That's not.
I guess, yeah, true. Border series, Canadian. The International series.
There you go.
There's so many ways you could come up with names for this. Texas, Houston, Silver Boot Series. Like it.
Fair.
Arizona and Colorado is called the Rocky Mountain Showdown. Are we sure that we didn't just steal that from Colorado State? Really? I mean, I know Phoenix is the high desert. I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure that the end of the Rocky Mountain range. The Rocky Mountain Showdown? You're telling me if I Google Rocky Mountain Showdown.
Well, it's going to show up Arizona, Colorado now because
Rocky Mountain Showdown, when I Google it, says Colorado State.
Oh, wow. Even with all of the MLB stuff going on this week, it still showed up the football series.
They called it the Rocky Mountain Showdown?
They
MLB
100%,
did that.
yes, on the official PDF for all of these series, which is where I got it, which is linked on your thing. It is called the Rocky Mountain Showdown. It's all the way at the bottom, too.
There's no way.
It is 110% called the Rocky Mountain Showdown.
They're going to get a cease and desist letter from Colorado State for putting that out there. Rocky Mountain Showdown. That's insane, dude. You Google search Rocky Mountain Showdown. The Rocky Mountain Showdown is the name given to Colorado State football rivalry. It is an American college football interstate rivalry between the Colorado Buffaloes and the Colorado State University Rams. They play for the Centennial Cup. Is that the name of the trophy between Arizona and Colorado?
Sounds like some Arizona originality.
Wow. Leave it to the Rattlebacks to steal a name. Unbelievable.
I hate.
Why, if you're going to do this, I agree with your question on the rundown. Why don't you just name all of them? Come up with a name. The Mariners and the Padres pulled it off. Come up with a name. Tell both organizations, hey, look, we're doing this from here on out. It's an initiative for us. Figure out a name.
Think of
or we'll do
Anne
one
Thing.
for you. Yeah. Lobster roll series. Because I can get mean lobster. Lobster in Atlanta. Speaking of food, I gotta Kirk Kenny, man. I can't believe he has done this thing every day for almost 4.5 years. We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, setting us number one sports station 97 through the Fan. I agree in the chat with some people about the Vedder Cup is the most original name for any of these rivalries that we have. It's a rivalry weekend in Major League Baseball. White Sox and Cubs, 6-3 bottom three in favor of the Cubs. White Sox did add a run. They jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Cubs put up 6. And then the White Sox answered with 1, and now the Cubs threatening again in the third inning. For all the people that are into the rivalries. The Water Heater Factory says the Rocky Mountain Oyster Cup should be the name for the Diamondbacks and the Rockies. You can't call it something that already exists. Isn't that like trademarked from college? Because like when they play that game in Denver at whatever the Mile High is called now, they have all the banner and everything like that. There's no way MLB got away with that. No way.
Gimmick infringement.
There you go. Gimmick infringement. Let's look at something that... so Kirk Kenney writes for the San Diego Union Tribune. Covers a lot of local colleges and everything like that. He was listening to us the other day when I mentioned the fried chicken. And he told Gwen and Chris about how I think I can make fried chicken better than the Colonel. I know I can. Just as much as some... I mean, you can make a lot of things that fast food places have better at home.
Oh, 100%.
That's not even like a tough competition. Now,
Nope.
If you like said you could make fried chicken better than like some mom and pop shops, that's a bold statement. That's a bold statement. But obviously a foodie himself. So now Tony wants to try. Tony, Scraby, because Scraby mentioned on the show, and Chris all want to try the fried chicken. I'll make it probably more in the fall. It's just like when you make fried chicken is just, it's the way to make it where it tastes the best is like just, you should never consume it in your body. Seed oils are bad, okay? Especially peanut oil.
Which I am allergic to, so I'm already out of the taste test.
You're out of the taste test, unless I use a different oil, but then, you know, it is what it is. But, that being said, Kirk Kenney on Twitter yesterday, I had to read this multiple times. I thought it was fake. I thought it was like a AI created thing. It's an interesting story of how it started. Kirk Kenney on Twitter, at SDUT Kirk D. Kenney. Quote, I ate at Del Sur Chick-fil-A almost every day during the pandemic just to get out of the house. You know what? It's not bad.
Fair play.
Fair. Absolutely. Prompting one employee. This is where they got him. Got him. This employee needs a raise. Prompting one employee to suggest I tried dining there every day, except Sundays because they're closed, for a year. Nearly 4.5 years later, and it's a picture of Kurt. In fact, I'm gonna show the picture here. There's a picture of Kurt.
It's in his special seat too.
At the Chick-fil-A, pointing at a sign that they have now hung at the Chick-fil-A in Del Sur, saying Kirk has dined at Chick-fil-A, and it's got a bunch of numbers you could change. 1,369 days in a row.
Nice.
Wow. That's insane. Almost 4.5 years later, he has been in that Chick-fil-A 1,369 days in a row. It's posted yesterday. I wonder what time he made his visit today to make it 1,370. I can't believe that, dude. I don't know how you can eat at one place every single day for that long.
I don't
even care even if it's a healthy plate. You're going to get bored with the menu at some point. Chick-fil-A menu is not very extensive. I mean, it's like chicken sandwich, spicy chicken sandwich, nuggets,
Ben had a great thing, and the only thing that I would even remotely consider is Cheesecake Factory, because the menu is the size of a novel. So at least there's variety there. But to go to a fast food place every single day for 4.5 years, the same one every day for 4.5 years, I could not imagine.
I could imagine either. Well, he gets Sundays off. I mean, those Sundays I'd be eating like all veggies all the time. No, he could get other things. I mean, he can go there and get a salad or something like that. It's not like he's only had, and who knows? I don't know. I don't know the full story. So the next time Kirk is on either our show or Gwen and Chris, they have to ask him about this.
Oh, it's got to be.
But again, it's only one time a day. I mean, he can roll through there and get one thing. It's not like he's doing the supersize me thing where he's eating there 3 times a day for that amount of time.
Worked out well for him.
He was also consuming large amounts of alcohol during that.
Listen,
that's probably not that great to add to the McDonald's.
Minor details, man. Stuff that we don't have to bring up.
So the question is, like, is there a place? Yeah, here's the thing. Like Kirk can get a grilled chicken sandwich. Doesn't have to be the fried one every time. Is there a place you could eat at every single day for a year?
No.
I mean, he made it through 4.5 years. I think the easy one for me, and it's not because I like it that much, but because I know that I can make better choices of fast food, is like In-N-Out. Like, I could do a protein style. Like, you could get protein style at In-N-Out, no spread. It's like 400 calories on a double-double. I mean, you could get, I can get a 3x3 with cheese, protein style with no spread, and you just do mustard. And it's like close to 600 calories, but it's like 48 grams of protein and it's low fat. You can do that once a day. Now, your cholesterol might not be that great, but that being said, I could survive doing that once a day for a year. I'd probably get sick of doing that eventually, but I could make it through a year. Now, without any repercussions.
It's also having the financial means to do this as well.
In-N-Out's not expensive. I mean, you can get a meal at In-N-Out for less than $12. I mean, if you can get a meal for under $15-$20 now, it's
that adds up though.
Yeah, but $12 per meal is not like a ton. You start breaking down what you get at grocery stores and everything like that. Like, you could probably get a little bit less.
Right, but if you go, I went the other day.
Just once a day, not like 3 times a day. I mean, $12 is not the end of the world.
Like, just the other day, because this is all I can have now, I got a 10-piece nugget at the McDonald's across the way from us. $7.50. I could get a bag of Foster Farm chicken nuggets from the Vons, and that'll last me 2 weeks now. So it's, you probably spend a little bit more at the grocery store, but you spread it out over a longer period of time.
I mean, when you start breaking down like everything you do financially per meal, I mean, it's not like you're eating at a fast casual. I mean, these fast food places, even though it's more expensive than it used to be, like, again, you could get my rule of thumb is if you're basically going to spend around $12 to $15 a meal throughout every day. So if you're getting a meal for $12 or less, then you are on pace for like your grocery store stuff. And that doesn't mean you cannot. I mean, you can make meals for yourself that might be less than that. But when you start breaking it all down of everything you add in the bill that you have from the grocery store, it like balances out to around that particular part. The most variety would be Cheesecake Factory, right? As you mentioned.
Yeah. And
unless you want to be like Vince Young and spend like $10,000 on a Cheesecake Factory bill or whatever it was.
No, Trav Gundy, we are not going to ask Jared about anything.
Or no, I don't even know why you read that. Poor Frank. Now, with no repercussions, which is not the case here because there's obviously health repercussions. I could probably, I'm going to say right now, if nothing happened to me in the year, cholesterol, fat, all that stuff, I could eat at a taco shop every single day without missing a beat. I could every day. I wouldn't even get sick of it. Every single day, I could eat at a taco shop. But I would not do that because I would not be alive very long. That's what I would go with. Do you have an answer for me? No, your answer of thinking about surviving and then answer without any repercussions.
If I were to pick anything, I would choose Rallies or Checkers, whichever one is closer to you, for the fries.
I don't think I've ever been to Rallies or Checkers.
Those things are so good. The fries are unbelievable.
The only one we have is like down here in that Walmart, right?
There's one there. There's one on Hamashaw. There's one in Imperial Beach. Those are the south ones I know. But yeah, the fries, I could eat those fries all day, every day, if given the opportunity to. So good.
Johnny says Rallies is trash.
I don't care about your
haymakers.
Opinion, man.
Haymakers. That's like your opinion, man. Anyway, I could do the taco shop, but that's not the case. If you had 3 wishes from a genie, I think one of them would be like, be able to eat whatever I want without. You have to be savvy about the answer, but like being able to eat whatever I want without gaining any weight and without having my heart stop. Taco shop would be the answer. Kirk Kenny going to Chick-fil-A every day. That is impressive.
Dedication.
That is. I mean, now at this point, though, like you can't stop.
It's going to become citywide news. This is the problem. If he does not show up to Chick-fil-A once, they're going to be calling for a health check on him.
Well, here's the other thing too. Like this is like he can't just pull like a Forrest Gump. I started running, and then eventually just be like, I feel like I'll go home now.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Now he has to keep it going. I mean, what's the record? Do we know what the record is?
What?
He's close to breaking
There's what?
Break Cal Ripken's everyday posting record. I mean, what? Or do we have a number in mind here, Kurt? I mean, what are we doing?
I'll look it up during the break, but there's got to be someone like me that has taken a stat of this somewhere. I'll find it.
Could you imagine a Padres team without Jackson Merrill? A Padres team without Jackson Merrill, but a different star. It almost happened a couple of years ago. We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. This article just came out today. I find it very interesting. We might have to get to it more in a little bit. If you want to join us for the Midday Sports Standoff, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you could take me down in some trivia, you could qualify for a chance to win our grand prize, a trip to see Bruno Mars in Las Vegas, including 2 tickets to his show at Dolby Live at Park MGM on September 3rd, a 2-night stay at Park MGM, and a $100 gift card. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. As Frank screens that, we did have an interesting article come down from Ken Rosenthal involving the Los Angeles Angels. And the article by Ken Rosenthal is more on the fact that the Angels' inability to really capitalize on having Shohei Ohtani. And so you look at some of the highlights of this article. Artie Moreno is their owner. He's been the owner for the Angels since after they won a World Series in 2002, I think it was. Moreno never built a winner around Shohei Ohtani, failed to recognize the historic financial potential of a once-in-a-lifetime player, and blocked his front office from trading him when it became clear the team was not close to contending for a World Series title. If Moreno had shown vision, the Angels could have planted a flag in Japan the way the Dodgers did, becoming a destination for players from that baseball-obsessed country, and a money-making machine to rival and perhaps even surpass their neighbors to the north. As Ohtani approached free agency, Moreno, on multiple occasions, could have authorized his front office to trade the two-way superstar with future San Diego Padres superstar Jackson Merrill among the prospects in play at the 2022 deadline. Very interesting. Later on in the article, let's think about that for a second. Now, imagine if the Angels had traded Ohtani for a package of young talent that might have jump-started the franchise, supplementing a young core that includes shortstop Zach Neto, who hurt the Padres all week, catcher Logan O'Hoppe, and right-hander Jose Soriano. All those players had an impact for the Angels this week against the Pods. The possibility first drew serious consideration at the 2022 deadline, with Ohtani still under Angels' control for 1.5 seasons. The Padres were interested in both Ohtani and then Washington Nationals outfielder Juan Soto, who had 2.5 years remaining. But Moreno balked at moving Ohtani, according to a league source, who were granted, being anonymous, for their candor and anonymity. Padres then pivoted to Soto and first baseman Josh Bell, sending the Nationals a stunning 6-player collection that included left-hander Mackenzie Gore, shortstop C.J. Abrams, and outfielder James Wood. For Ohtani, Padres general manager A.J. Preller might have parted with a comparable or even better package, even for one less year of club control. Merrill was part of the trade discussions, according to sources briefed on the talks. It's not out of the question. The Padres would have included him if Moreno was willing to go forward. He wasn't, and the Angels finished 73 and 89. That is an interesting conversation. Think about it for a second. And the question that I ask, that I'd like to get into more detail of. Let's say the Padres did make that move. And they did send Jackson Merrill and C.J. Abrams. And let's just put it on this way. Let's say the Padres made that move. And now the position players would have been, the potential prospects would have been a little bit different. But let's just have that move be made where the Padres gave up what they gave up to Washington plus Merrill for Shohei Ohtani. Do the Padres make the World Series in 2022 with Shohei Ohtani and not Juan Soto? That season, Ohtani had his best season on the mound. 15-9 with a 2.33 ERA. Had a 6.2 WAR just in pitching. 166 innings, had 219 strikeouts, 44 walks. His ERA plus was 172, which means he was 72% better than an average pitcher. His fielding independent pitching that year was a 2.40, and his walks plus hits per innings pitch was almost less than 1. We remember that series in Philadelphia. Could you imagine if you had an offensive weapon like Ohtani, which I think would be equivalent to having a guy like Juan Soto, but then also on top of it, having Ohtani start one of the games for the Padres against the Phillies, or start one of those games that they had against the Dodgers. Remember, they were rolling out guys like Mike Clevenger. They were rolling out guys like Sean Manaea. I mean, that fourth game was brutal for the Padres from a starting pitching standpoint. Think about those games in Philadelphia where they were just struggling with the starting pitching that they had. If you had Ohtani there, would the series have been different? I think it's a very interesting topic of conversation. If they make the World Series with Shohei Ohtani, do they get a deal done with Ohtani instead? Are they more likely to try to sign Ohtani than going and signing Xander Bogaerts? I mean, these are a lot of what-if questions that will never be answered. I think it's a very interesting topic of conversation. And it does confirm a lot of what we know about that trade deadline. The Padres were, in fact, interested in trading for Ohtani. They had conversations about it. That is not new news. The Padres wouldn't have been able to acquire King Cease Vazquez. I don't think they would have traded Ohtani during an offseason with only 1.5 years of control. But would you rather have Ohtani on the team instead of Bogaerts, King, Cease, and Vazquez? I think a lot of people might say yes. I mean, think about the monetary value of the Padres. Think about everything that the Dodgers are able to do because of Shohei Ohtani and his contract. Does Shohei Ohtani defer as much money as he does with the Dodgers, with the Padres? He might. You don't know. And that's where a lot of these questions come about. But I do find it interesting. I think the Padres probably would have signed Ohtani. Are the Padres in a different situation right now than they would have been had they have signed Ohtani? I mean, think about this. They probably don't sign Xander Bogaerts. They probably force all their resources into signing a guy like Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani, for the length of his contract, looks a lot better than Xander Bogaerts. You got a pitcher, you got an elite level player, the money coming in. Is that more important than having a guy like Jackson Merrill? Sometimes the best move you make is the move that you don't make, or maybe the move that didn't transpire. Very interesting. But it goes back to Artie Moreno not wanting to make a move with this and instead just going with the Angels into a situation where they don't make the playoffs with Ohtani and Trout. He ends up being a Dodger, and the rest is history. It's a very interesting article that Ken Rosenthal wrote. How different would the Padres be? I think, honestly, they'd probably make the World Series in 2022 with Ohtani on the team, because what killed them in the NLCS, they ran out of pitching. And think about it from a perspective of you still have the starters that you had in that rotation that year, and the number 4 starter was the biggest problem for the Padres because it was Manaea and Clevenger and this hodgepodge BS that they had. Instead, you got Ohtani mixed in there. That'd have been. I think they probably could have made the World Series. It's an interesting food for thought and an interesting conversation. Doesn't really matter anymore now. It happened in the past. Can't go back in time. Unless you take Frank's DeLorean out there. It's time for a midday sports standoff. Let's see if Alex and Del Mar can take me down in 5 minutes.
Welcome to Midday Sports Standoff on the Braden Surprenant Show.
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
The ultimate head-to-head battle where sports knowledge and quick thinking collide.
No, it's no good. Are you kidding me?
Contestants will go toe-to-toe with Braden in a sports trivia deal where every correct answer brings them closer to victory.
Down the sideline! Wow! Unbelievable!
But 3 strikes and it's game over.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Can you outsmart Braden? The Midday Sports Standoff starts now.
All right, Frank. Got Alex and Del Mar. Alex, what's going on, man?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Just working and listening to the radio.
All right. We love to hear that. What do we got today on the question?
We once again have we're going with top 10s because I couldn't find anything else. Padres top 10 stolen bases is who we are going with, is what we're going with today. Alex, you ready to go?
Career.
Career.
Hey.
Career top 10 stolen bases. Ready to go, Alex?
I hope so. Okay, career.
All right, you got the first pick.
Let's see. I was gonna go. I was thinking season, but career. You mean like when he was playing on the Padres?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I was gonna say Ricky Henderson. I'm not really sure. I don't even think he played.
He did play for the Padres.
He
Played
did.
for the Padres 2 different times, but not enough stolen bases in a Padres uniform.
Nope.
Tony Gwynn.
Number
One and down
1.
on a top 10 career offensive category that's not strikeouts. The answer is probably Tony Gwynn.
Number 1. Alex.
How about Will Venable?
He's number 8 on the list. Braden.
The Wizard, Ozzie Smith.
Number 5 on the list. Alex.
How about Dave Roberts? For the Dodgers manager?
That's not a bad guess.
No, it was not,
But he just didn't
unfortunately.
play enough on the Padres.
Braden.
Dave Winfield.
Number 7. Alex, you got 2 strikes, bud.
Fernando Tatis?
You got 3 strikes, unfortunately.
It's a tough question today, Alex.
It was.
My next guess would have been the guy that was traded for Ozzie Smith, Gary Templeton.
Yes, Templeton would have just made the list at number 10.
And then I'm out of ideas.
Gene Richards, number 2. Alan Wiggins, number 3. Bip Roberts, number 4. Everett Cabrera, number 6. And
Wow.
Enzo Hernandez, number 9, were the ones that would have been left.
Not bad. Not bad at all. How many winners we have this week? 2? 1.
1.
All right.
We've had 1 a week so far.
I only ran out of time last week, yesterday. Otherwise, you never know. Do the Padres make the World Series in 2022 with Ohtani instead of Soto? Remember, no Tatis. Frank.
I think so.
I think they.
I think it's a very good likelihood. It's a great question to ask.
Hypotheticals.
It's
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But if you think about the team that it would be,
I would have hated the wild card series still. Probably
Yeah.
might have hated it even more.
Yeah,
actually.
it only would have gone 2 games because Ohtani would have shoved it up your ass, so.
Okay. We had Trent Grisham shoving it. I think that might have been worse than Ohtani.
Maybe Trent just loves playing in New York. You look at that team. I mean, you add Shohei Ohtani in the mix instead of Juan Soto.
Maybe Trent's just a pain in the ass. I don't know.
Pitching would have been Darvish, Musgrove, Snell, and Ohtani. Not bad. Not bad at all. 1 o'clock hour. Dennis Lynn was asked his mailbag. We'll answer some of the questions that are circling the Padres when we come back. Final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show. Stay with someone Sports Station 97 Fan. Final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show on Setting Us on One Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Gwen and Chris will join the show. Well, not join the show. They're up next at 2 o'clock. Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show after that. 5:40 with Sam Levitt. First pitch at 6:40 right here on 97.3 The Fan. Games on Apple TV Plus tonight. So if you don't have a subscription to that, you can listen to the radio. Or go find it at a bar. But listen to the radio. During Gwen and Chris at about 2:45, 2:40-ish, Brandon Lockridge will be joining the show. Got a start a couple days ago, did really well. Got the knock with 2 outs to drive in 2 runs. Some insurance runs for the Padres as they took 2 out of 3 from the Halos. And will be trying to do the same thing against the Mariners. They start the Vedder Cup this weekend. Earlier today, we had Rizzs on. He gave us a preview of the Seattle Mariners. Great interview with Rick. We have reposted that now already on YouTube. You can also check it out wherever you get your podcast. And I do want to mention, we're trying to grow our podcast listenership. And a lot of you out there on YouTube do a great job tuning into us every day. We really appreciate you guys. Give us a like on the YouTube page if you haven't done so already. I count for, let me refresh, but we had over 100 people watching every day this week, which is phenomenal. Got 26 likes, 91 watching. Let's get the likes up a little bit. If you haven't done so already, give us a like on the YouTube page. We really appreciate it. Follow us on social media at @B_SURP, at BSURP. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can follow Frank on social media as well. I have it on the sheet now. It's great. You can follow Frank at FMarks324, FMARKZ324. He's got some good sarcastic humor during Padre games.
It's my specialty is sarcastic humor.
Voila. Chef's kiss. Oh no, Xander Bogaerts hit a home run. Whatever will they complain about tomorrow? Hilarious. Hilarious. You can follow him on social media as well. Follow the show at B_SURP, like my Twitter handle, show at BSURP show. Follow us on social media too. Anyway, you guys do a great job. And we want to thank you again for making this show so much fun. Frank and I are having a blast doing the show. I laugh at a lot of your comments. Some of your comments are a little out of line. I don't really laugh at those, but you know what? We appreciate you guys chiming in, getting your opinions out there as well. We're here for that. Help being your voice of Padre fans and San Diegans alike. We try to keep everything very San Diego too, whether it be local sports, but also local food. We like doing that in the noon hour. Again, we really appreciate you guys joining us each and every day. We want to grow the podcast numbers a little bit. Our podcast numbers are very low. And so if you miss out on any part of the show, I know you love looking at our beautiful faces on the YouTube, but you can listen to us in podcast form. All of our shows are posted as audio only on Spotify, on Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts, Odyssey app, whatever it may be. And you can get it on your phone, ready to go as soon as you get the notifications by subscribing to us. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. I hear the word subscribe and I go, I don't want to pay for anything. I don't want to ever what is this going to do? It's easy. Hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube right now, a lot of you are subscribers, a lot of you aren't. The only thing that makes it easier to find us, wherever you consume our product, wherever you consume our show. If you click subscribe, you don't have to pay for it. It's not an extra service fee or anything like that. All it does is you get notified when we post new things, when we go on the air on YouTube, when we have our clips done online on Apple Music and Spotify. If you subscribe to us, it gets directly placed in your inbox and everything like that. We appreciate it. So if you haven't done so, subscribe to our YouTube page at 97 to the Fan. You can also do it to the Braden Surprenant Show. We have our own YouTube page as well at B_SURP. You could do it again on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Hit subscribe. It does a lot for us. It really helps us grow the show and spread it to other people that might not know about us yet. So we appreciate it. Do you want to join the show today? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Shout out to Corey Mims. I have you guys playing almost all day while I'm working and traveling. Heavy on the fan during baseball season. Really appreciate that, Corey. We try to keep you entertained, talking Padres baseball. Try to mix in some fun stuff as well. Thank you, Corey, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. As we know, Jocelyn is usually here just to talk smack to both of us, but that's fine. It's welcomed. It's welcomed. And to pump up Sage Creek, as she did when I announced that, again, USD pitcher, that's stud, Porter Rovin, freshman out of Sage Creek High School. We will have some more high school stuff later on during the fall, during football season. We already have passing league on Sunday. I got a passing league. Cathedral's got a passing league tournament on Sunday at La Costa Canyon. Got the schedule already. We have Mission Hills, San Marcos, and El Camino this weekend on Sunday for passing league. It's already football season. Already football season in America's finest city. Baseball will have playoffs next week. Softball might too. I think baseball and softball playoffs start next week here in San Diego County. We will have updates on that as well. We like talking about the high schools here in San Diego. I think it's great in San Diego. People here care about other San Diegans and stuff. It's just a unique town, right? Like, I've had this conversation with Adam Klug a couple times. Like, I know almost, not personally, but like who has played here in San Diego or who has grew up here, who lived here, went to high school here. And we remember, like, as they go represent San Diego for all their organizations, we love talking about it. We like having those guys on the show, too, like Sean Bouchard a couple weeks ago. It's Sean Bouchard's birthday today, by the way, Frank. Happy birthday, Sean.
Happy birthday.
So we'll have some updates on the CIF playoffs for you next week when they seed everything. We'll talk about it a little bit on Monday. A lot of great baseball in town, a lot of great softball in town. We'll break that down, and in the fall, we'll be heavy on the high school football stuff. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to the phones. Lou in Leucadia wants to weigh in. Lou, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up?
Nothing much.
A couple of things that just bug me is, this Apple TV. A lot of these poor seniors, they're paying for cable and they don't get the game. They have to, they don't know how to get Apple TV. What baseball? It's like, are they just trying to rope in the youth or something? And then, secondly, I was dismayed to find out that the baseball CBA doesn't end, till starts a new one in 2027. I mean, I'm tired of these Otanis getting paid $10 a month and deferring all their salary till the end. I mean, what do you think baseball is? What do you think the odds are that baseball is going to address this huge deferred salary issue?
Lou, I appreciate both of those questions. Question number one, yes, they're trying to be youthful by doing the streaming. The only reason why young people did streaming to begin with is because it was a better deal than cable. I don't know how many times I've had this conversation. I tell my friends all the time, cable is a superior product to streaming. I won't even entertain an argument against that. Cable and satellite is a superior product than streaming. It's faster, it's easier to handle, it's more hands-on, it's a way better product. Streaming was always better because it was cheaper. And the thing of why young people like doing streaming, it's like when they go to college or they move out for the first time, they can make a deal with their parents where they can use the logins for the cable company to stream things onto their devices, and they did it because it was cheaper. Now, with having to pay for Apple TV Plus and Hulu and ESPN Plus and all of these things, and having to switch back and forth from everything, it's now getting to a point where the price is almost back to where cable is, and now all of a sudden people are going like, well, what's the what's the appeal. The thing that's great for young people on this, and this baseball thinks it's just young people like streaming. They don't like streaming. They think it's cheaper. Young people are always going to do things that are the cheapest possible because they don't have any money. And the money they do have, they're spending going out and being kids, as they should. So the whole youth movement for streaming, I think, is missed by Major League Baseball. That's one of the areas. The other one, when a company like Apple TV comes around and goes, we're going to give you X amount of dollars to just broadcast one of your games, Major League Baseball is going to say, yeah, sounds good. We'll take the check. Most leagues are not going to turn down a check to have their games aired in some type of exclusive thing, especially when they can get a ton of money out of it. So when trying to drive people to buy Apple TV Plus is like, we will pay for these particular games. Major League Baseball will advertise with us, everything like that. We'll get more subscribers. Baseball gets a check. It's a win-win for everybody there. It's a loss for the fans that have to continue to shell out money for all those things. But that's the business. I'm not, it's an inconvenience, but if you want to watch the product, that's what you have to do to watch the product. And they know that people will do it. But again, this is the business side of things. It's an entertainment business, and that's how these leagues make money as an entertainment business. That's part number one. Part number two, do we think that they're going to get rid of this deferred money? I would say it will be a point of contention in the next CBA. I think there's enough teams now and ownerships now that are tired of what the Dodgers have been able to do and feel like they, quote, cannot compete with this long term, that they will try to address, whether it be a salary cap, salary floor, whether it be you can't defer money, whether it be more harsh penalties. They're going to figure something like that out. Because on top of the Dodgers spending a lot of money, it makes a lot of teams like the Pirates look even worse when they're making money and not spending it on payroll. And teams don't like being shown to look like they don't care about their fans or they're not putting in an effort. They don't want to look bad in the general public. So yes, all of those teams that might feel a certain way about the Dodgers doing these things will probably have some complaints during the next CBA. And why I think the next CBA is going to take a long time. But don't have to worry about that until 2027, end of the 2026 season. So you Padres fans, you got the rest of this season, all of next season, and then strap in because who knows when the next season will be after that. Lou, good questions. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Dennis Lynn got some mailbag questions. He answered all of them in an article on The Athletic. We're going to focus on 4 of them that we will answer ourselves. If you want to check out Dennis Lynn's article, go subscribe to him on The Athletic. Go check it out. He always does a great job. We will discuss some of these questions when we come back. Some questions for the Padres as we move forward. Also, later on, we'll get you a update on the NBA and NHL playoffs, and Drake Hills will help us break down tomorrow's game between San Diego FC and Sporting Kansas City to wrap up our week and our show on the Braden Surprenant Show. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. We continue on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy. Ever heard of probate? It's the legal state-supervised process of settling someone's estate after they pass. Sounds simple, right? Not always. It can be long, expensive, and tie up your family's access to your assets for months, sometimes even years. The good news, you can avoid probate for assets held in a trust. With most trusts, your family gets quicker access to your estate. In most cases, there are no courts, no delays. It's easy, affordable, and you can create it all online with Trust and Will in about 20 minutes. Take control of your estate. Visit trustandwill.com. Use code FAN at checkout for 20% off and free document delivery. That's trustandwill.com.
San Diego, North County, Escondido. It's time to roll into Pedder CDJR and Poway.
120 on a Friday, or 119. Actually, by the time you hear this with the delay, it might be 120. Shh, radio secrets. Frank Marchese, Braden Surprenant, the Braden Surprenant Show, middays from 10 to 2. Really appreciate you guys joining us each and every day. Big thank you to a great week from all the listeners this week. Had a fun week on the show, talking a lot of different things, sports, food, stuff people like to talk about. Busy weekend this week. Frank's going to be down at the ballpark, right? You're going to be down at the ballpark all 3 days?
Not tonight. I know should be there tomorrow. But,
nice.
And Sunday is a possibility, but definitely tomorrow.
Enjoy the Saturday night action. Saturday night baseball.
It's great.
5:40 starts are my favorite for all sports. I love the Saturday night 5:40 start. I think 5:40 is the best start time for prime time. I know prime time on the East Coast is like 8 whatever, and we always got it on 5 o'clock out here in San Diego. But the 5:40 starts, 5:30 starts, 5 o'clock starts, anything in the 5 o'clock hour, great start time for any type of event. Biggest event you can think of, 5 o'clock start. 5:40, whatever. That's the best start time, I think, in sports. Get that extra juice for a football game at sun setting a little bit, little daylight, little nighttime. Games mostly at night, but you kick off during the day. It's great stuff. Get a little bit of that in the high school football season at the beginning of the year. Those 7 o'clock starts in late September, early September, when you get August starts now. Our first day of physical football, where you have like pads and everything, is like July 31st now. Moves up and up every single year. We're going to have spring ball next week, 2 weeks off, San Diego State tournament on June 14th, and we are rolling for high school football. Saturday, tomorrow, I won't be going to the games because I got USD baseball. So today, when we're done, I'm driving up to Cathedral, spring ball practice, and then from there, I go down to USD to call the Toreros Pacific game. The last couple of days have been the same day, just in different orders. Like yesterday had football at 6 a.m., roundtable, our show, over to the USD. USD yesterday had a clinching situation for winning a championship, which we talked about. They wanted me to go down on the field like Kevin Burkhardt and do the whole like trophy presentation thing. I did not sound like Terry Bradshaw like they have in the Ben and Woods ads. Or like Rob Manfred had to go down there, ask a question to Brock, ask a question to Austin Smith, the senior from Granite Hills. Kimya Massey, the athletic director, handed over the trophy. They had their huge celebration. Game was only like 2 hours and whatever because it was only 7 innings. Got home. So I left my house yesterday like 5:30, got home at 10 o'clock. Today, same thing. It's just different orders. So show first, Cathedral football, USD baseball. Tomorrow, no show for us, obviously on a Saturday, but I'll have my morning workout that I do on Saturday mornings into USD baseball at 1, their final game of the regular season at Fowler Park tomorrow, into Cathedral Catholic football alumni event. We're doing an alumni event at our building called the Zach, which is named after Zach Myers, who is a Cathedral alum and a teacher at Cathedral who passed away of cancer. His family donated money to build this event center that we have now at Cathedral in his honor. They did a beautiful job with it, but it's really, really a great event place for us. We'll be doing a football alumni event for all the Dons out there that played football at one point or another, which is cool. And that's what I love about my high school and what we do over there. And I know a lot of other high schools do stuff like that too, and it's kind of cool. So that's my Saturday. Sunday, passing league tournament, already back at it. Start at 12:30, I think, at LCC. We'll be playing San Marcos, Mission Hills, and El Camino in some type of order on Sunday. I'll have the full recap for you on Monday. Ha! Just kidding. I'll probably talk about my weekend, but not too much after that. Padres questions, as according to the mailbag, as you guys have chimed into Dennis Lynn's mailbag. He answers all of these, but we want to answer some of these questions as well, as Frank put them together. Only a couple of them that we put on. Frank, I'll let you take it away on some of these questions, like with question number 1.
So, of course, the big focus has been Leo Vries, and, with everyone thinking Xander Bogaerts is playing worse than he actually is, everyone wants to see Leo Vries up as soon as possible. One of the questions to the mailbag was, could Leo Vries be a major leaguer this year?
Well, I think from an offensive standpoint, if he passes the AA test, I don't know why he couldn't be. If he could hit around 280 in AA, you might see him in September. Now, that being said, defensively, he hasn't been very good for the Tin Caps. He makes very impressive plays, but he does have multiple outings in which he has a couple of errors in a game. As for what Dennis Lynn said, the Padres believe DeVries eventually could approach the type of impact Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr. are making, but more context, Tatis compiled more than 1,200 plate appearances in the minors before he debuted as a 20-year-old kid. Merrill almost 800 minor league plate appearances before he arrived shortly before his 21st birthday. Including an Arizona Fall League stint, DeVries hasn't yet gotten to 500 plate appearances. If he keeps up his current trajectory, he's probably not far from playing at Petco Park, but being thrown into a potential playoff chase in September feels like a bit much. I think it's kind of much too. But that being said, it comes down to his hitting. If he passes the AA test, I think the Padres will bring him up. And I don't think the Padres really care if they're in a playoff hunt or not. I think they've shown that before, that they're bringing athletes up as quickly as they can. So if he goes out there and racks up a lot of at-bats, and he won't get to the point where I think he gets enough plate appearances that match Tatis or Merrill, but if he passes the AA test and hits over 280 for a decent amount of time, I think there's a chance. But now, he's still in high A. So it's not like he's in AA right now. He still has to make that jump, and then after that, I bet you he's on the Padres. So I think there's potential, but I'd be shocked if he plays for the Padres this year at the end of the season. Question number 2.
Question number 2. And by the way, Leo, don't be discouraged if you do hit well in AA and not get up here, because my MLB The Show character, I hit 340 with AAA San Antonio AA San Antonio. Won the Texas League playoffs and didn't even get an invite to spring training. But I'm not salty. You're fine.
How dare they?
Chances the Padres extend Luis Arraez, whose contract is coming up at the end of the year.
I give it about I want to say 60% chance. And I say 60% chance not because you got to bring this guy back. I just think there's not a big market for Luis Arraez, and I think the Padres value him more than other teams do, and I think they can get a deal done with Arraez that's beneficial to both sides. So from that perspective, I would say around 60%. But you look at a lot of different options out there for the Padres, and Dennis Lynn lays into more detail on his article, and you can go check it out. But I feel like he's not going to get a lot of bids in free agency. Let him go to free agency, see what he brings back, match it if it's not very high, and I think he brings back on that deal.
A quality player for sure, and for a player like him, I wouldn't let him test free agency, because you never know. He might actually get something from somebody that you can't match. And I know you don't have the restraints and the restrictions that you had this offseason. But still, that's something I wouldn't test. If you really want a guy, don't test it. Question number 3, who will be the starting left fielder for the San Diego Padres on August 1st, the day after the trade deadline?
Can I go with somebody that's not on the team?
Well, I think that's the point. Yes, that's why it's after the deadline.
Yeah, I feel like I think it's somebody else on the roster. The question in the Athletic is August 1st starting left fielder on the roster, and Dennis Lynn says it seems doubtful. I would say that as well. If the Padres are going to be a playoff team, which I think they are, if they're going to make a run in said postseason, they will need a new left fielder. Jason Hayward is playing solid defense, but he's hitting 173 with a 226 on base and a 280 slug. Eye test and StatCast says he's not been unlucky, just kind of who he is. Padres love what he brings in the clubhouse. Brandon Lockridge has been serviceable, but left field should be the team's top priority on the waiver wire, as laid out by Dennis Lynn in his article. Totally agree with all of it. Matches what we've been saying on the show all day long. It's going to be somewhere else. Now, whether it's an affordable like Taylor Ward or something like that, not a high average guy, but a home run guy, whether it's maybe you make a deal with Baltimore, who's got a lot of outfielders, where they find it is going to be interesting. And I think we'll learn more in the month of June or maybe early July when teams start to really settle in of who they're going to be in 2025.
I agree 100%. Now, this last one, quite interesting. Now, it's not that uncommon for major league teams to have different AAA affiliates or change affiliates around. I know in the last 20 years, the Mets have had the Norfolk Tides, the New Orleans Zephyrs, the Vegas 51s were a Mets AAA team for a while, the Buffalo Bisons, and now they've settled on Syracuse. Could the Padres change their AAA affiliate to try to curb the PCL hitting skew?
I don't think so. As Dennis Lynn mentions in the article, they have a deal with El Paso till 2030. So it'd have to be after then. If you want to keep somebody in AAA on the West Coast to make it easier to bring players up, they're not the only place that is that high altitude. I mean, everybody in the PCL is a high altitude place. I mean, think about the places that have minor league teams. They're in cities that are not as popular, which is all around the Rocky Mountain Range. They're in the Western United States. They're not like in the coastal areas. Those all have major cities with major teams. It's not like you're going to put your AAA affiliate in Escondido. And even if you did, they'd still be playing in high altitude in different places. So from that perspective, it's not like it's going to be that catastrophic. The only way this changes is if you put AAA over in the East Coast, which is not as level, is not as a hitter-friendly area. But, you know, that sets you up for not getting guys up in enough time, especially if you're home where you're going to spend 81 of your games every single year. El Paso to San Diego is not the worst. It's probably better when it's in Tucson. Tucson's a high desert, right? So, like, you're gonna be playing in high altitude spots. The thing with StatCast now and like all the metrics, you can determine what's kind of real and what's not real based on a lot of these analytics. And so from that perspective, it's not like they're getting fooled by what's going on in the minor leagues. So I don't think they're going to move anything.
It's also interesting because there's another option that you have, which is not necessarily remove a contract from another team. You could also change levels. Like instead of Fort Wayne being your high A affiliate, you can change their level to where they are your AAA affiliate. So that is another option that you can go. I don't know what goes into all that.
Well, you have to put them in a league. Like the reason why they're in those levels is because the league that they're in.
No, right. No, I understand. I get that, but that is another option that you have. Like the Mets just did that with the Brooklyn Cyclones. They were, there's a level under low A. I forget. It's not quite.
It used to be short season, but they don't have that anymore. Yeah. Low A is the lowest you can go now.
But they went from low A to high A now, the Brooklyn Cyclones. So there are, might have been the New York Penn League. So there is, you can have teams change levels also.
But what I'm saying is you're still in the league. There's only 2 AAA leagues. You have the Pacific Coast League, and then you have the one on the East Coast.
League, yeah.
Right. So like if you move your team, you'd
have to change the league.
You'd have to change your league, and then you'd have to, so like if you decided to do that, I mean, you could have AAA be, but then that's your distance of pulling guys up.
Right.
Then you would just have everybody be in AA that you want pulled up. But that's the other thing too. It's like if you hit really well, there's a lot of, you don't usually make it to the PCL. Fernando didn't make it to the PCL, and neither did Jackson Merrill. So it's an interesting question, though, but I don't think they're going to change anything anytime soon.
I would agree. Honestly, that a lot of work for a minimal change, honestly.
Especially when you got StatCast and advanced analytics and everything.
Yeah.
When we come back, we will be joined by Drake Hills. He is going to give us a breakdown of the game that San Diego FC played on Wednesday and a preview of Saturday, tomorrow. San Diego FC is on a little bit of a hot streak in MLS, bouncing back from the cold streak that they were on. More with Drake Hills when we come back to finish up the show. San Diego's number one sports station, 97 to the Fan. 1:40 on a Friday, wrapping things up to a long, or should I say fun? Actually, it wasn't long. It was a fun and a quick week of shows this week. Good job, Frank. Fun week of shows.
I try. Probably a little too hard. Probably take a little too much time that I don't really need to take. But this week has flown on by.
I know. Makes for the best shows. Makes for hopefully you guys enjoying a lot of our shows as we continue on in the midday. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. We are now joined by one of our favorite guests every Friday. He's currently on assignment right now, but he will be giving us the full breakdown of San Diego FC. He is a contributing writer for Black Players for Change. He has covered MLS for a long period of time in his young journalism career. His name is Drake Hills. Drake, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Yeah, you know what? Every Friday I come into this hit thinking, Braden's going to make my day, regardless of how it's going, you know? We're talking soccer. We're talking San Diego sports. It doesn't get any better than that.
I feel like we got to ask like Drake some of the food questions that we like draw up throughout the week too. Sometimes we're going to have to add some of that. Some of the most controversial ones that we've had this week.
I'm ready. I've been, speaking of press boxes, I've been given, hard time because I'm a big candy corn guy when it's October.
What? Wait, that's a controversial take. Drake is a big candy corn guy, huh?
I'm a big candy corn guy, and if it's a white sauce and it's not if it's mayo or ranch or any of that crap, I'm not touching it. It's got to have some dairy and some sugar if it's white. I'm not touching, poblano ranch on a burger. It's nasty work for me, Braden. But hey, to each their own. I come in peace, respectfully, just with some very strong takes from me and my diet. But yeah, candy corn is my jam, man.
You
candy
have some hot takes when it comes to food. We had the question yesterday is ranch or blue cheese with your wings. What do you have with your wings if you don't like the creamy stuff? What do you dip wings in? Just nothing?
That's what the sauce is for.
True.
I always wonder, if I'm, let's say Buffalo Wild Wings, right? We can always go, honey barbecue, even a traditional barbecue. I've even messed with an Asian zing, maybe a little bit of teriyaki. But even the dry rubs, right? A good lemon pepper wing done well doesn't need a sauce. I just appreciate what the sauce on the wing is there for. But that's me. Again, no blue cheese, no ranch, no mayo, no sour cream, no Thousand Island. If we're talking In-N-Out,
no spread for Drake. Get that crap off.
No spread. No sir, no ma'am. Please keep it away. No animal fries.
Can't be doing the sauce. Okay, well that's good to know. I want to dive deeper into this another time. We don't have time to do that today, but we've been doing a lot of food talk in our lunchtime hour just to make everybody hungry. And so we have a lot of controversial, or should I say, hot takes when it comes to food in the midday. And we will have to remember some of these. And we'll give you the hottest question of the week that we have gotten. We can dive in as part of our Soccer 101. But let's talk a little bit about, speaking of midweek, San Diego FC they're going to play their third game this week coming up tomorrow, but they had one last Saturday. They did really well. They're continuing their winning streak with a win the other day against the Colorado Rapids. What stood out to you most about San Diego FC's kind of bounce back performances after they went on a little bit of a downturn for a little bit during the season?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Braden. We've covered it pretty well, just taking a look at that 9 goals in 3 games of back-to-back losses. It started with Colorado away from home. Then they obviously got dropped against Charlotte, another 3 goals there. And then at home, another 3 goals against Real Salt Lake. But since then, as we got into the month of May, what I really like about San Diego FC is that you are a team that, yes, we've talked about the expansion year and what that means for finding a way to respond together to adversity. This is their first time going through it. What I like tactically is that you're having a holistic approach to attacking and creating goal-scoring chances. We saw that, obviously, Chris McVeigh being able to get on the score sheet. And I don't want to, get ahead of myself, but one of my favorite goals for this year with this team, playing in Seattle, is creating turnovers and creating scoring opportunities from their own penalty box and progressing gradually down the field to score. So I think in these past 3 games, getting back into the winning column, putting that 3-game losing streak behind them, I think that's the best thing. That's the best dynamic with this team.
Let's talk a little bit defensively. How important was CJ Dos Santos' penalty save, and what does his form mean for San Diego FC's defensive stability going forward?
I think CJ Dos Santos has been pivotal to this team and how they want to play. When we talk about playing from the back, CJ Dos Santos is not a traditional keeper who, is all about using his hands and his acrobatic skill set. This guy can play with his feet. He is the 11th player on the field. He can play, and with pressure, he's able to distribute service, long balls, intermediate, short passing, under pressure, having time in his hands. He can do it all. And I think not only that save, but also you got to remember Jorge Mihailovic from Colorado Rapids in the midweek tried to chip him. If a goalkeeper is a little too far away from his goal, a player will try to send a ball 30, 40, 50, 60 yards and try to beat him. And CJ was smart enough to recognize it and able to punch the ball over the net to prevent Colorado from getting on the score sheet. But, he's been pivotal for this team. And I think if you ask Mickey Vries, he'll probably say the same thing.
Anders Dreyer scoring his 6th goal and San Diego FC climbing to 2nd in the West. Is it safe to say this team has found its identity after a rough April stretch? What are your thoughts on that?
I think so. I think if you have a team that guaranteed you have not just one guy that you're leaning on, but 2 or 3, unfortunately, this team has gotten hit with a little bit of the injury bug over the course of April and May. But Anders Dreyer pairing with Chucky Lozano as your 2 go-to goal scorers. You talk about those 6 goals leading San Diego. That's amazing. Especially he's shown you in different formats. He can link up with Chucky Lozano and play combination play and, giving goals here and there, but he can also create goals his own. I think if that first attempt when he scored against Colorado, if that first attempt didn't hit the post, I think that would have been one of the more beautiful goals of this early season, if you will. Being able to take a player on, keeping him off balance, opening the hips, whipping the ball into the bottom left corner, that would have been beautiful. But his ability to rebound his own shot and score, I think it gives you a clear-cut vision of what this team is going to be moving forward, simply because he's not only just a creator of the goal-scoring chances, but he's also a finisher.
Drake Hills, who is a contributing writer for Black Players for Change, joining us like he always does each and every Friday, talking San Diego FC, talking soccer, talking candy corn, apparently. Coming up tomorrow, San Diego FC will take on Sporting Kansas City. They got their first win 6 matches into the season. They're 3-2-8 on the year. Game will be tomorrow at 7:30 on Apple TV+. Going against the team that is not off to a great start in Sporting Kansas City. How does San Diego FC match up, and what do they need to focus on in terms of not overlooking this Sporting Kansas City squad?
Yeah, you're right, because that would be easy to do. And I think that, Mikey Vries, the coach for San Diego FC, will turn on the film of what Sporting Kansas City can be. You'll look at particularly Sporting's second game against St. Louis being 2-0 down. Someone like Dejan Lavalic, who, Lavalic is a guy who won MLS Cup with LA Galaxy. Leaves LA to go to Sporting Kansas City, sparks this 2-0 down comeback in the second half. This is a team that's in transition. It's not the abysmal team under a legendary coach like Peter Vermes. This team is in transition. I mentioned Lavalic. You can see that there is a vision of trying to be more attacking minded and being more of a threat going forward. But let's just take a pause and talk about Peter Vermes and what that means. Imagine, I'm not going to say their exact comparison, but if we're talking baseball, someone like a Terry Francona and his coaching tree, right? Folks who are coming off of the Terry Francona tree. If we're dropping names, we're talking Torey Lovello, Dave Roberts, Gabe Kapler, Alex Cora. Peter Vermes has kind of got that type of service to the game. I mean, we're talking about someone who, as far as Major League Soccer, if you include his playing career as a center back and a U.S. men's national team player, in addition to being a coach, a general manager, a technical director, and a sporting director, we're talking over 30 years in service to Sporting Kansas City and the Kansas City Wizards before then. So this is an unprecedented chapter for Sporting Kansas City, where everything from play style to player recruitment, everything is changing for this team. And they need it, right? Because just to give you guys a little bit of a schooling here, we talk about expected goals as a means of describing how you can talk about a team's attacking abilities, right? So expected goals, you're talking, essentially a statistic that measures the quality of a scoring chance, and it's based off of the likelihood that will actually be a goal based off of goals that look like it previously. And Sporting Kansas City is on average, their XG is what we like to call it. You're looking at 0.07, right? 1.46 goals per game this year. Sporting Kansas City, 24 goals allowed. So it's not looking good. And in fact, their last win against LA Galaxy, they had a 0.0 expected goals. The only reason why they won that game was because the LA Galaxy defender essentially scored an own goal. So this team is still a work in progress. But like I said, someone like Dejan Javelic can score for them. And so I think it's a must win for San Diego FC if they want to be that playoff team in their first year in Major League Soccer.
Drake, we know all about expected results being a Major League Baseball flagship station. A lot of expected results in baseball, a lot of expected results in soccer. We always appreciate your time. I know you're on assignment this weekend, so not in town. I'll miss you at the Don's football alumni event tomorrow, Drake.
Well, I hope that there's no ranch and no blue cheese, and just steer clear from the Thousand Island, will you, Braden?
That sounds good, Drake. We'll talk more food and soccer one-on-one next week with you, Drake. We really appreciate it. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Till then.
Drake Hills, contributing writer for Black Players for Change, always comes on and does a great job giving us the lowdown on San Diego FC, giving us the lowdown on what's going on in soccer, and apparently giving us the lowdown on candy corn. Yes or no? Thumbs up or down, Frank?
I don't mind it, but I have to be very specific with which ones I eat, because some of them do have like traces of peanut oil or whatever in them.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that I can eat, I do enjoy.
I don't mind candy corn. It's not my first choice.
No, agreed.
Circus peanuts. Have you ever had circus peanuts?
No, I have not.
They look disgusting. I've never had them.
I
That's
know.
like
I know what they look like.
The orange.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Looks like a giant peanut. I think you should use the peanut allergy as an excuse to not even try consuming one.
I pretty much have.
Yes, it's a good call.
Part of the reason why I'm a picky eater.
I can't wait for the Halloween candy edition to this in October. Reese's or bust. Fun week. He's Frank Marchese. He's done a phenomenal job. All of our guests have been booked with Frank. If you enjoyed that interview with Rick Rizzs, if you didn't get to it, go check it out on YouTube. It's posted. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby. Coming up next for Frank Marchese, I'm Braden Surprenant. We'll talk to you guys Monday on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego #1 Sports Station, 97 through the Fan.